Chapter 87. Look, it's student Ming Shi and senior Skycliff. Senior Ming Shi is so beautiful. How can there be such a good-looking person in this world? A girl slumped on the table. There's also senior Skycliff. Senior Skycliff is the man closest to becoming a sword god in 100 years. He's so amazing. Another girl said in admiration. Senior Ming Shi is the top student of the 5th grade, and senior Skycliff is the top student of the 4th grade. Both of them are peerless powerhouses. Don't you think they're a good match when they stand together? This caused a series of screams. Emogue was eating when he looked up at the man who had created the terrifying sound waves. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Everyone had a different life. Why wasn't he as popular? Was it because he wasn't the top student of the 5th grade? Look, after the terrifying sound waves, someone went up to hand him a love letter. As expected, popular men were different. But why did the girl who handed him the letter look so familiar? Holy shit. Isn't that Fengwu? The scene was like this. When our Fengwu girl saw Ming Shi, her eyes lit up. She didn't even notice how popular the boy she wanted to confess to was. She just rushed up with the love letter she had prepared. Fengwu girl held the love letter in her hand and walked up to the two handsome seniors, blocking their path. Senior Ming Shi, please accept it. She imitated the girl who had handed him the love letter, and held it out with both hands with a serious expression. Ming Shi immediately recognized the girl in front of him as the one who had proposed to him that night. For a moment, he didn't know how to react. He thought that the girl would back down after he made things clear that day, but reality told him that he had been too naive. He didn't know whether to accept the love letter or not. If he didn't accept it, the girl would lose face in front of so many people, so he still accepted the love letter. He accepted the love letter, which caused the crowd to scream. Fortunately, Ming Shi was used to the days where he could attract screams wherever he went. No matter how loud the screams were, he didn't feel anything. But why was the girl in front of him still here? Shouldn't she have run away shyly after he received the love letter? The truth told Ming Shi that he was thinking too much. Not only did the girl not run away, but there was no sign of shyness on her face. Is there anything else? Ming Shi's gentle smile stiffened. You haven't seen it yet. Fengwu looked at Ming Shi stubbornly, with a manner of, I won't leave until you finish watching it. Was a love letter supposed to be read in person? Ming Shi suddenly felt that maybe he shouldn't have accepted the love letter in the first place. It was too late to say anything now. Chun Mo wanted to open the love letter to take a look, but he found that the girl's love letter was very different from the ones he usually received. Others used aromatherapy paper and a cute pink envelope for love letters, but the Fengwu girl used an ordinary piece of paper that she usually used for homework. Looking at the size of the paper and the tear marks on it, all of these told him that this so-called love letter was written on a random piece of paper torn from some homework book. This was really the most scrupulous love letter he had ever received, the youth thought silently. What was even better was that this love letter didn't even have an envelope, only a folded piece of paper. No, it was a folded piece of homework paper. Looking at the contents inside, the first row said, Senior Ming Shi. The second row said, the first time we met was in a hot spring. The third row said, you look like my master, please be my baby's father. The fourth row said, please marry me. The fifth row said, Fengwu. This thing was a love letter. Ming Shi suddenly felt a headache. This love letter with no format and no content was probably the shortest and most strange love letter in the history of love letters. You still haven't given me an answer? Fengwu girl reminded him with bright eyes. She had already written a love letter, so this should be reserved enough, right? Senior Ming Shi should agree to it. Sorry, I can't agree to it. The always considerate Ming Shi really didn't want to hurt a girl's heart in front of so many people, but the girl looked at him so stubbornly. It seemed that he couldn't not give an answer. Although all of this was the girl's own choice, no matter what, he still hurt this girl in front of so many people. Ming Shi felt a little guilty and didn't know how to face the girl in front of him. The scene of the girl being heartbroken didn't happen. After the girl was rejected, all the students in the cafeteria who were eating at the same time as the aunties who were eating at the same time thought that Fengwu would cry and leave, but she didn't. The girl calmly took back the love letter Ming Shi had handed to her. Oh. She calmly responded, no sadness visible on her face. Finally, she turned around and left. She didn't cry at all, nor did she feel sad at all. She just left like that. The entire cafeteria was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Girl, are you sure you're here to confess and not to play games? Mo Gue, whose jaw almost dropped to the ground, reacted the moment Fengwu left. He stopped eating and chased after Fengwu like a gust of wind. They were classmates, so he couldn't let this innocent girl do anything stupid. Xiaowu wait. Mo Gue used the speed of a 100-meter race to catch up. He put his hand on the girl's shoulder from behind and turned her around to comfort her. Xiaowu, one failure is nothing. Even if Senior Mingxi doesn't accept you, there will be other good men who will. Don't be too sad, don't cry. He didn't even see the girl's expression before he started to comfort her. I'm not crying. Fengwu looked at Mo Gue seriously. She didn't want to be mistaken as a girl who liked to cry. Master had said that crying was the behavior of the weak. She was Master's disciple and a natural-born expert. She wouldn't cry. Yeah, she really didn't cry. Her eyes didn't even turn red. Mo Gue obediently shut up. Why is it that even though I wrote a love letter and confessed in a subtle way, he still won't accept me? Fengwu's voice was filled with questions and confusion. She had clearly done as Mo Gue said. So why was Senior Mingxi still unwilling to accept her? The girl couldn't think of a reason, so she could only ask the youth in front of her for help. How did you write the love letter? Mo Gue had always been curious. When he saw the love letter written on the homework paper, he instantly felt like he was going to Sparta. Here. The girl didn't have any thoughts of protecting her privacy, and generously handed over her love letter. You're really showing it to me? That's not too good. Although he said that, his hands didn't slow down at all as he took the love letter. When he opened it, Mo Gue instantly felt uncomfortable. This was a love letter. This was a love letter. He suddenly felt that it was completely normal for Senior Mingxi to reject Fengwu. He believed that no one would accept such a strange love letter. Chapter 88. Who taught you to write this? This person definitely had a grudge against Fengwu. At this moment, a juror, who was eating the delicacies brought back by his roommates, suddenly sneezed. Is someone thinking of me? A juror taught me. Fengwu girl immediately betrayed her teammate. The fire magus who teamed up with you for a mission? Mo Gue, who had a good relationship with a juror, had naturally heard of him. That's him. Fengwu girl nodded. Don't write any more love letters in the future. There are many ways to pursue love. We'll try something else in the future, Mo Gue said after a few seconds of silence. Don't. Fengwu girl's eyes sparkled. She was full of energy again. Yes, yes. Let's go. We'll slowly study it. There's definitely a way. Mo Gue didn't even consider that he himself had never had a girlfriend before, and now he wanted to teach her how to pursue a boyfriend. Young man, are you sure you have a way? Regardless of whether Mo Gue had a way or not, the Fengwu girl was finally comforted. Mingxi, I heard that someone gave you a love letter in the cafeteria today. How was it? How was that girl? She was really brave in front of so many people. The girl who spoke was wearing the Swordmaster Department's uniform. Her figure was hot and extremely eye-catching. She was Elena, a fifth-year student of the Swordmaster Department. She was a famous beauty in the Swordmaster Department. She had a head of long, wavy burgundy hair, a pair of red eyes, and a sexy figure. Men were guaranteed to fall for her the moment they saw her. But who would have known that such a beauty was actually a fiery beauty with a fiery temper? This woman had once kicked a suitor's balls until they exploded. She had also kicked the thighs of her pursuers. Although there were so many men who were interested in her that they could circle the Central Plains, none of them really dared to date her. This woman was too violent, and no one wanted their balls to be kicked until they exploded. At this moment, this great beauty with a hot figure and a seductive look was sitting on the sofa in Mingxi's dormitory with a face full of interest. Obviously, she was very interested in the love letter confession at the cafeteria at noon. Big sis Elena, please don't make fun of Mingxi. The news of someone confessing to him using his homework has already spread throughout the school. I'm sure he's feeling depressed right now. Arguros looked at Ming-Shi with a gloating smile. He had long been unhappy with this guy who was so popular with girls. It would be strange if he didn't take this opportunity to add insult to injury. You're just jealous, aren't you? Ruglas bluntly exposed him. As a roommate who had lived with him for 4 years, how could he not know what this guy was thinking? I'm going back to my room to read. Ming-Shi looked at the noisy dormitory with a headache. He directly left in the name of reading. The others couldn't stop him in time. They could only watch as Ming-Shi went upstairs. After Ming-Shi left, everyone looked at Skycliff. Skycliff was sitting on the sofa, wiping the long sword in his hand, as if he didn't care about anything. Elena and the others exchanged glances. Forget it, let's ask Ming-Shi later. Would they admit that they were afraid of Skycliff's cold air? When Ajur found out about the love letter incident at the cafeteria, it was already dinner time. His roommates in the same dormitory took it as a joke and talked about it in the dormitory. Ajur was so angry that he almost got into a fight with the guy who talked about it the most. Fengwu was his good friend. How could anyone talk about her like that? Hearing that Fengwu's confession had spread throughout the school, even if Ajur knew how insensitive the Fengwu girl was, he was still worried. Moreover, he was the one who taught Fengwu how to write the love letter. If it wasn't for him, Fengwu wouldn't be like this. It was reasonable for him to find Fengwu as soon as possible. He couldn't let Fengwu hide and be sad alone. With that thought in mind, Ajur quickly left his dormitory and ran to Fengwu's dormitory to find her after kicking the roommate, who talked about it as a joke. At this time, the atmosphere in dormitory 302 was tense. Ever since Rika heard about it, she hadn't been nice to Fengwu after returning to the dormitory. Rika was stuck in the middle and didn't know what to do. Because she had a good relationship with Rika, she couldn't go against Rika. She could only give Fengwu an apologetic look. Silda also heard about it. He wanted to comfort Fengwu, but when he saw the tense atmosphere in the dormitory, even the insensitive Silda felt uncomfortable all over. Fengwu didn't care about the tense atmosphere in the dormitory at all. Whitey had made a lot of delicious food for Fengwu tonight. She had a small bag, and Fengyi was sucking milk from a beautiful baby bottle inlaid with gems. She didn't know where he got it from, but he was blushing and sucking on the milk. He looked so cute. Fengwu was eating as if nothing had happened. Rika didn't want to see her so carefree. Some people are really shameless. She already had a child, but she still dared to write a love letter to Ming-Shi's student to confess. I really don't know what kind of face that person has. How thick does her skin have to be to do such a shameless thing? Rika elegantly poured a cup of fruit tea for herself. She had a decent smile on her face, but the most vicious words came out of her mouth. What do you mean by that? We're all in the same dormitory. Do you have to go overboard? Silda couldn't stand it anymore and said, "This has nothing to do with you. It's because of her that everyone in 302 is laughing at us. Don't tell me you still want to be in the same group as her?" Rika's words naturally contained some exaggeration. There were many people who laughed at Fengwu, but it didn't affect the whole dormitory. She made it sound so serious because she usually didn't like Fengwu, the only commoner in the dormitory. Are you talking about me? Fengwu only had time to deal with Rika after finishing a table of good dishes. In the whole dormitory other than you, is there anyone else who has done such a shameless thing? Rika took a sip of the fruit tea. Her movements were elegant and decent, but the corner of her mouth was coldly raised. Her eyes revealed a trace of arrogance and malice. That was the gaze of a superior looking at a subordinate, the gaze of a noble lady looking at a commoner. Rika wanted to persuade her, but she couldn't say anything when she met Rika's gaze. Between Fengwu and Rika, she could only choose Rika. After all, she and Rika were in the same department, and both of them were noble ladies of high society. Although she liked Fengwu, she wouldn't choose to help her because of this little bit of affection. Silda was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She didn't like the arrogant Rika, and Fengwu was on good terms with her class. At this time, Silda naturally stood on Fengwu's side. In the whole school, there was always a rivalry between the swordmaster and mage departments. Most of the dormitory students had better relationships with swordmasters, while mages had better relationships with mages. Just by looking at the relationship between the students in the same dormitory, One could imagine how fierce the rivalry between the two departments was. Chapter 89. Rika looked left and right uneasily. She really didn't know what to do. Why couldn't her roommates get along so well? Silda took the initiative to stand beside Fengwu, looking like he was going to support Fengwu. As for Fengwu, she just tilted her head, her eyes filled with obvious confusion. Why is writing a love letter to Senior Mingxi shameless? She clearly saw other girls writing love letters. Mo Gui also said that writing love letters was the most common way for girls to confess. Fengwu couldn't understand why Rika was so fierce. Was it because she wrote a love letter? You've already given birth, yet you still wrote a love letter to Senior Mingxi. You really don't know your own name, and you're so shameless. Rika put down her teacup, not bothering to hide the disdain in her eyes. The baby is very cute. Why can't I write a love letter when I have a baby? Fengwu was even more confused. She wrote a love letter to Mingxi because she wanted him to be the baby's father. Auntie Tianyue and Auntie Lian both said that the baby would definitely need a father in the future. She learned from Senior Mingxi very well. Since he thought of Master this much, he must be a very good person like Master. You're so shameless. You're already a pair of broken shoes. Don't tell me you're delusional enough to think that you're worthy of Mingxi's student. She really didn't know if Fengwu was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. What does it have to do with you whether I'm worthy of Senior Mingxi or not? Fengwu didn't ask this because she wanted to be sarcastic. She just didn't understand. You're so shameless. Everyone has the right to say that. Rika didn't expect that Fengwu not only didn't feel ashamed, but also acted innocent. Who was she pretending for? A commoner was a commoner. In order to climb up the social ladder, she would do anything. You think you're qualified to speak ill of Xiaowu? I think you're the one who's truly shameless. A juror, who was dressed in red, slowly pushed open the door and entered. A juror, I know you have a good relationship with Fengwu. Maybe you have some kind of relationship with her that we don't know about. Rika smiled ambiguously. However, this matter is an internal conflict in our dormitory. As an outsider, it's better for you to stay out of it. Rika was still rather wary of the first-year valedictorian Ajur. She didn't think that she could beat him, and of course, she also didn't think that he could make a move on her in her dorm room. Internal conflict? You even want to care about Xiaowu's love letter? You really think you're something? I hate women like you the most in my life. Ajur's eyes were very cold, but the temperature in the room was getting higher and higher, as if the whole room was going to burn. Fengwu was no stranger to this feeling. When she first met Orlando and the others, Ajur was like this in order to help her vent her anger. The hot air hit her body, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Rika uneasily took a few steps back. What do you want to do? Have you forgotten that violence is not allowed in the Holy Court? If you touch me, you'll definitely be expelled from the Holy Court. Expelled? You think you're qualified to expel me? You really think too highly of yourself. I really don't know who gave you such confidence. Just because of your family's noble title? Ajur sneered. Suddenly a red light flashed, and a red cherry blossom suddenly appeared in his hand. The cherry blossom was sent in the direction of Rika by Ajur. When the cherry blossom approached Rika, she suddenly felt that her position had changed. She was no longer in the living room of the dorm room, but in a large cherry blossom forest. There was the fragrance of flowers everywhere, and there were cherry blossom trees full of cherry blossoms. The cherry blossom trees began to spin around her. Rika felt dizzy, as if she was constantly spinning in circles. What's going on? Why am I in this place? Could this be an illusion? Rika herself was a magician, so naturally, she was very familiar with the magician's methods. She knew that there were magicians who specialized in illusion. She was obviously in an illusion. Moreover, this illusion was of a very high level. With her strength, it was impossible for her to break the illusion by herself. Fortunately, this illusion was only an illusion to trap people. It didn't have any attack power. She was just trapped, Rika thought with some relief. Unfortunately, her rejoicing didn't take long before it turned into fear. The petals of the cherry blossom tree that was revolving around her began to fall one by one. then fluttered in the air around Rika. If that was all, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But those petals actually all turned into small flames. The small flames began to attack Rika. Her clothes caught fire first, then her hair, then her hands. Her entire body began to burn. Rika screamed in fright, shouting for help, but there was no one here. After her panic, she finally remembered her identity as a water magician. A condensation spell was cast, and soon a water ball was condensed in Rika's hand. This water ball was not big. Rika must be older, so it was impossible to condense a big water ball. When the water ball was condensed, Rika thought that this water ball could put out the flames on her body. But it was useless. It was useless. Not only was it useless, but her clothes were also burning faster. She had now forgotten that all this was an illusion. She only knew that she was in pain. The pain of being burned by fire was unimaginable for ordinary people. The fire on her body was getting bigger and bigger. Rika could only roll on the ground in pain. She hoped that she could put out the fire on her body and not experience such pain again. Soon, her hands were burned to the bones. Her whole body was burning. There was no longer a piece of good meat to be seen. She could almost smell the fragrance of meat in the air. Who is this? So shameless. She actually took off her clothes in public. She even cast a condensation spell on herself. She must be crazy. Could it be that she's gone crazy from studying magic? Come on, she's just a first-year student. What kind of magic could make her study herself like this? What kind of people are these first-year girls this time? At noon, a freshman confessed to Senior Ming-Shi, and at night, another freshman ran out and took off her clothes in public. I really don't know what these freshmen are thinking. What are they thinking? They want attention. They're really going crazy thinking about men. This sister is already very open-minded. I didn't expect that there would be a higher mountain. She even dared to take off her clothes in front of so many of us. When Rika woke up, she happened to hear the noisy voices around her. These voices were full of disdain and joy in her misfortune. What was going on? She clearly remembered that she was burned to death in the fire. Chapter 90. She recalled everything that had happened. She was in the dormitory when she was caught in an illusion. In the illusion, she saw herself being burned to ashes. When she woke up, she heard these voices. Rika opened her eyes and saw a large group of girls surrounding her. Just as she was about to ask what was going on, she felt a burst of cold air coming from her body. She looked down and immediately let out a frightened scream. Ah! Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Rika screamed crazily and hugged her chest. At this moment, she was only wearing a bra that wrapped around her chest and a pair of shorts. Moreover, her body was covered in water. Because her clothes and pants were wet, they couldn't cover anything at all. When she lowered her head, she could even see 2 bright red spots on her chest. Why is this happening? How did I become like this? It's a Jur and Fengwu. It must be them. They wanted to harm me. They are demons. Rika's heart was filled with hatred. She hated them so much. A Jur Fengwu, you'll die a horrible death. You'll die a horrible death. Don't be afraid. Come, put on this cloak first. A warm voice suddenly sounded above Rika's head. Then Rika felt something draped over her body. Rika looked up and saw a beautiful girl with purple hair looking at her worriedly. Thank you. After being mocked by so many people, the girl's kindness made her feel warm. She thanked the girl gratefully. No need to thank me. We are all magicians and are new students of the same batch. We should help each other. Zicheng smiled like an angel. Yes, the girl who helped Rika was Zicheng. Zicheng was also passing by and saw a large group of people surrounding this place. Out of curiosity, she went up to take a look. She saw a girl lying on the ground in her underwear. The clothes she was wearing had been torn to shreds. Not long after, the girl woke up. Her panicked and helpless look made Zicheng know that this girl had probably fallen into someone else's trap. Otherwise, how could a normal person make themselves like this? Hence, Zicheng stepped forward, wanting to help this pitiful girl. Rika, are you alright? Anika walked through the crowd and finally found Rika, who was still lying on the ground with a cloak covering her body. I'm fine. Let's go back first. Rika didn't want to stay here and be gossiped about. She tightened her cloak and stood up. With the help of Rika and Zicheng, she returned to room 302. Room 302 was empty. There was not a single person in it. It was as if the scene of them arguing with each other was just a dream. Annika poured 3 glasses of water for the 3 of them while Rika went back to her room to change her clothes. Annika, what happened just now? Why did Rika become like this? Zicheng took a sip of water. Because too many things had happened in the afternoon. She wasn't in the mood to make tea. She only brought 3 glasses of warm water over. I don't even know where to start. Annika looked troubled. It wasn't that she didn't want to talk about it, but she didn't know where to start. Thinking about the methods she saw not long ago, Annika was very uneasy. She was originally a cheerful girl, but now she was frowning. I also want to know what Ajur did to me. Why did I come out of the dorm? Why did I become like this? Rika had changed into her school uniform and stood at the 2nd floor staircase. She looked very agitated, and there was obvious hatred in her eyes. Annika sighed. Although she didn't want to talk about this in front of outsiders, since Rika insisted, she could only tell her what happened during dinner. From Annika's narration, Rika knew what happened. It turned out that Ajur flicked a small cherry blossom at her, and that cherry blossom actually entered her forehead. After that, she started to show a face of pain. No matter how Rika called out, she didn't respond. After that, she started to scream and cast the water condensation spell on herself. She even rushed out like a madwoman. When Annika chased after her, she couldn't see Rika anymore. She could only search all the way and finally found Rika. The only thing she was thankful for now was that Rika didn't run to the male dorm. Although she lost face among the girls, at least she wasn't taken advantage of by the boys. Ajur, I won't let you go. Die. Although Rika had already expected this outcome, she couldn't help but scream crazily when she heard what happened. She even threw the cup on the table to the ground, shattering it. Rika, don't be like this. You'll hurt yourself. Annika quickly pulled her down to sit on the sofa to stop her from throwing things around. Where are Fengwu and Ajur? And where did Silda go? Rika finally calmed down a little. After you ran out, Fengwu was taken away by Ajur. Silda helped me look for you. After she found you, she also left, Annika said uneasily. She knew Rika's temper. Rika was a very proud person, so she looked down on Fengwu's commoner background. Ajur probably saw how proud Rika was, so he used this method to humiliate her. Although Rika was in the wrong first, and Ajur wanted to help Fengwu vent her anger, she shouldn't have used this method to humiliate a girl. If Rika ran to the boys' dormitory, wouldn't her life be ruined? No matter how high Rika's achievements in water magic were in the future, what happened today would be a stain that would follow her for the rest of her life. Annika truly felt that Ajur was too cruel to treat a girl like this. Fengwu was the same. Why couldn't she persuade Rika? If she had, Rika wouldn't have ended up like this. Annika had completely forgotten that Rika was the one who was looking for trouble. They're all so nice. After doing such a terrible thing to me, they just left. As expected of the bitch's friends. Rika's face was full of viciousness that didn't match her age. Her eyes were filled with hatred. She couldn't wait to kill Ajur and Fengwu. She also didn't want Silda to have an easy time. What happened? Can you tell me? Why is Ajur going against Rika? Zicheng sat there and listened for a long time. Although she understood some of it, she had more questions in her heart. She knew that young man called Ajur. He was the first year's chief student. She heard that he had defeated the second year's chief student and was directly promoted. He was a powerful fire mage. She didn't know how strong Ajur was. Speaking of which, the 2 of them were in the same class. It was just that Ajur usually only hung out with his friends. She wanted to be friends with him, but he didn't care. In short, Zicheng's impression of Ajur was that he was a very arrogant person. Chapter 91. Isn't it because he wanted to stand up for his lover? There's a girl in our dorm called Fengwu. This afternoon, she was in the cafeteria. Rika's heart was filled with hatred, and she urgently needed to vent her emotions. When Zicheng asked, She naturally told Zicheng what she heard about Fengwu's shameless confession to Mingxi. She also told him about the argument between the two during dinner, and how a juror came and embarrassed her in front of all the girls in the school. Fengwu confessed to Senior Mingxi? Zicheng covered his small mouth and exclaimed. He couldn't believe that the girl who didn't like to talk or smile would confess to a boy. It really didn't seem like something she would do. Yeah, she's really overestimating herself, right? I really don't understand who she thinks she is. She even has a child, yet she still did such a shameless thing. I just said a few words to her, and a juror made me like this. The two of them must have an abnormal relationship. But thinking about it, a woman who has a child out of wedlock can't be a good person. I feel that it's unbearable to be in the same dorm as her and breathe the same air. Rika disdainfully speculated the relationship between the two with the greatest malice. In her heart, Fengwu and Ajur were a pair of adulterous couple. If it wasn't for the fact that Fengwu's son and Ajur didn't have a trace of resemblance, she would definitely think that Fengwu's son was the product of their affair. Fengwu has a child? Zicheng was shocked. He really couldn't tell that Fengwu was only 14. 5 years old and already had a child. It was simply too shocking. Thinking back to modern times, there was also a child who became a mother at a young age. Those children didn't like to study and liked to fool around. He really didn't expect that Fengwu, who looked so innocent, was actually a rebellious girl who didn't have a simple private life. Yeah, that child has always been raised by her in the dorm. Rika and I shouldn't have agreed to let her raise the child in the dorm. What kind of place is our school? It's a place for learning, not for her to raise a child. Rika regretted that she didn't report to the school when she found out about the child's existence. If the school knew about this, Fengwu might have already been expelled. She was still a student and got pregnant and had a child. Such a problematic student. She believed that the high and mighty Notre Dame du Starlight would definitely not accept her. She even raised the child in the dorm. Zicheng exclaimed again. After experiencing 2 lives, she could be considered an old person who had lived for dozens of years. She had always been very confident in her judgment of people. She clearly looked like an innocent girl, but she did something that no woman on this continent dared to do. Could it be that she really misjudged her? Zicheng naturally began to suspect for the first time. Could Fengwu really be like what Eve said? A girl who liked to put on an act? That's right. That child has always been raised in the dorm. There's even a saint beast helping her take care of the child. Doesn't the school care about this? In the 21st century, she had never heard of a student living in a dorm with a child. The school doesn't know at all. Annie and I are soft-hearted and didn't report her. However, her good days are coming to an end. Tomorrow morning, we'll go and expose the fact that she had a child out of wedlock and secretly raised a child in the dorm. I'll see how she still has the face to stay in the school. When Annie heard Rika's words, she wanted to say something, but in the end she held back. No matter what, Rika was the victim this time. It was better for her to remain neutral. Zicheng was a gentle and considerate girl. It was very easy for her to become friends with others. After chatting with Zicheng for a while, Rika directly treated Zicheng as a close friend. The relationship between the two improved by leaps and bounds. The next day, rumors of Fengwu shamelessly raising a child in the dorm began to spread throughout the school. This rumor was spread by people in the same dorm. This rumor had already overshadowed the news of Rika running around the female dorm naked. Of course, Rika spread the news so quickly not only because she wanted to embarrass Fengwu, but more importantly, she knew that in order to not attract attention, she had to do something more important to divert people's attention. In order to divert the attention of all the teachers and students away from the fact that she ran around the female dormitory naked, she had to come up with a bigger and more eye-catching story to attract everyone's attention. The fact that Fengwu had a child out of wedlock was much more attractive than the fact that she, a freshman, had run around naked. Rika was walking on the way home from school. It had only been a morning, but the rumor had already spread throughout the school. She believed that the teachers would definitely take action. Hurry up and get rid of this Notre Dame du Starlight's disgrace. Ajur and Emogue had naturally heard of this rumor as well. Although Emogue didn't know whether it was true or not, he also expressed his support for Fengwu. Because of this rumor, The students in the class all looked at Fengwu strangely. Silda had known about this for a long time, and many people in the class also knew that Silda and Fengwu were roommates in the same dorm. Naturally, there were many people who were on good terms with Silda, who wanted to find out the truth. Silda had long guessed that this rumor was spread by Rika to take revenge on Fengwu. She didn't want to be Rika's accomplice, but she didn't know how to answer this question. Every time, she would just tell them not to spread this rumor and walk away. However, Silda didn't expect that it was her refusal to answer directly that made the students in the class even more certain that the rumor was true. I really didn't expect that Fengwu, who looks so innocent, would turn out to be such a whore. She's already a mother at such a young age. I really don't know what she's thinking. I knew she wasn't a good person. You guys don't know that she's usually very close to a jur from the magic department. Even Emogue, who she's only known for a short time, is on her side. Her ability to seduce men is really extraordinary. Yeah. Yesterday, she even wrote a love letter to Senior Mingxi in front of so many people. She's so shameless. She's already given birth to a child. Yet she still wants to pursue Senior Mingxi, who's as beautiful and gentle as the moon. You women enough. You don't know anything and you still have the nerve to talk nonsense here. Emogue pointed at a group of girls who were gossiping the most, and yelled rudely. The girls also knew that it was wrong to talk behind someone's back. They were even caught red-handed by the person in question, so they scattered in embarrassment. The other people who were gossiping about Fengwu also lowered their voices. After all, the person in question was still in the classroom. Emogue helped Fengwu carry her textbook and pulled her out of the classroom. Afraid that someone would cause trouble for Fengwu, Emogue planned to send Fengwu back to the dorm. Chapter 92. Not long after the two walked out of the classroom, they met Mr. James. Fengwu, bring your child to the office. Mr. James seemed to know that Fengwu had a child. He didn't even ask for confirmation. Fengwu nodded and went back to the dormitory to pick up the child. As for Mr. James, he went straight to the office to wait for Fengwu and the legendary child. Emogue was very worried about Fengwu. Although they hadn't known each other for long, he still treated Fengwu as a friend. Now that his friend was in trouble, he couldn't help at all. This wasn't a good feeling at all. Everyone thought that Fengwu would be unable to recover from this setback, or be too ashamed to face others. Unfortunately, the Fengwu girl wasn't an ordinary girl. She had always been very thick-skinned. She might not understand anything you said in front of her. Fengwu was a little puzzled as to why so many people were looking at her secretly and openly. This puzzlement existed for a short while before disappearing. Fengwu wasn't a child who would seek trouble for herself. She let Little White carry Little Bun, and the two humans and one beast openly walked on the school road together. Along the way, there were students pointing at her from time to time. Originally, the public confession of Mingxi yesterday had already caused a stir in the entire school. Who would have thought that the girl who confessed her love for Mingxi the next day was already the mother of a child? This made many girls who liked Mingxi and boys who worshipped him dislike Fengwu. Everyone thought that her confession to Mingxi was an insult to him. Mingxi didn't say anything at first, but the boys and girls who liked and worshipped him had already taken action. They were all eager to teach Fengwu a lesson. Along the way, Fengwu finally brought the child into the teacher's office. The swordmaster and sorcerer department's offices weren't separated. The teachers of the two departments were now very focused on Fengwu. They had different opinions about Fengwu raising a child in the dormitory. Some teachers thought that Fengwu's private life was indecent and couldn't become a student of Notre Dame du Starlight. There were also teachers who thought that Fengwu should just send the child outside. After all, she had relied on her own abilities to enter the school. They couldn't just expel her. The teachers were directly divided into two factions. One faction wanted Fengwu to stay, while the other wanted Fengwu to leave the school. In short, there was a heated argument. Come in. You must be Fengwu. Can you let me hold this child? The sorcerer department's teacher, Rosalie, smiled gently and sweetly. When she saw the child in the holy beast's arms, her eyes were filled with love. Sure. Fengwu nodded. Only then did Little White hand the little bun over to Rosalie's arms. What a cute child. Rosalie looked at the child in her arms. An indecipherable light flashed through her eyes. The other teachers stood to the side and watched quietly. They didn't say anything, nor did they look at Fengwu with disdain. They just watched quietly, as if Fengwu was an ordinary student. It was as if she hadn't given birth out of wedlock. If the people standing here were a Jur or Mo Gui, they would definitely notice that there was something wrong with the teacher's expressions. Their curious and puzzled expressions were definitely abnormal. But the one standing here was Fengwu. This child was born to not be able to read people's expressions. Let me hold him too. The sword master teacher, Elrog, gently took the child. He held the child in his arms and looked at him. No one knew what he was looking at. Where's the child? Let me see him. Where is he? Let me see him first. An old voice suddenly rang out from the office door. Following the voice was an old man with a head full of white hair and a long white beard. The old man's beard was so long and dense that it covered most of his face. Vice Principal. The teachers bowed respectfully at the sight of the newcomer. Fengwu didn't know who the newcomer was, but she did the same as the teachers. Let me see the child. The vice director noticed Elrog, who was carrying the child. He ran to Elrog at a speed that did not match his age. Then he gently took the child from Elrog. This child is really good looking. As expected of him. The vice principal seemed to have thought of someone. He seemed to have become gentler. You must be the child's mother. You're amazing. You were able to give birth to him safely. You're amazing. The vice principal's voice was filled with obvious excitement. I almost died. When Fengwu spoke, her eyes were filled with grief. When Fengwu first transmigrated, she was giving birth to a child. This child was especially difficult to give birth to. The original Fengwu had all her life force and energy sucked out. That was why she died. Naturally, Tianlan didn't know this. She only knew that when she became Fengwu, she felt a force constantly sucking away her life force and energy. If she hadn't transmigrated and brought most of her energy with her, she would have died a long time ago. Good child, you're really good. Don't worry, the principal and I won't let you leave. In the future, study hard in school. If it's not convenient for you to take care of the child, you can leave the child with me. I'm an old man and don't have much to do. I can help you take care of the child. The vice principal's extraordinary enthusiasm made the teachers in the office wonder where the child came from. Could the child's father be a relative or friend of the vice principal? Otherwise, why would the vice principal be so happy? It was as if he had a grandson. No need. Xiaobai will help me take care of the child. Fengwu really liked this kind grandpa, but when she thought of Xiaobai who could take care of the child, she obediently shook her head and rejected the vice principal. You really don't want to think about it? I'm very good at taking care of children. The vice principal seemed to really want to help. What was with the expression on his face that said if you don't let me help, you can't leave? The teachers felt that there must be something wrong with the way they woke up in the morning. After a long time of persuasion, the vice principal finally got the right to take care of the child. When Fengwu went to class or had business, Xiaobai would bring the child to the vice principal. The vice principal would help take care of the child. The vice principal got the answer he wanted and was satisfied. On the other hand, the teachers were confused. Could this child really be the vice principal's grandson? But that couldn't be right. Did the vice principal have a son? He didn't even have a daughter. How could a vice principal without a child have a grandson? After repeatedly reminding Fengwu to take good care of the child, the vice principal finally allowed Fengwu and the little bun to leave together. After that, the vice principal left as well. Then the school issued a notice. The notice said that Fengwu's child was born because she accidentally ate the pregnancy fruit and did not do anything that would bring shame to the school. Because of Fengwu's family situation, the school considered the child's need to be taken care of and agreed to let the child be raised by Fengwu. Chapter 93. Once this news was out, the entire school was in an uproar. No one would have thought that Fengwu's child was not born from a messy relationship, but from eating the pregnancy fruit by mistake. What was the pregnancy fruit? There was a mysterious country in the Far East. In that country, there was a mysterious fruit tree. If a woman ate the fruit from the tree, she would be able to conceive a child. The gender of the child was uncertain, and it all depended on luck. This fruit that could make a person pregnant after eating it was called the pregnancy fruit by the locals. The production of this fruit was not high even in the local area. Every time it appeared, it would be fought over by female swordmasters and sorcerers who did not want to get married and only wanted to have children. Some women who had been unable to conceive for many years even saw the pregnancy fruit as their last hope. This fruit was extremely rare even in Central City, and Fengwu had actually eaten it by mistake and given birth to a son. It suddenly felt so surreal. How could it be? Do you guys think it's true? That Fengwu really ate the pregnancy fruit to give birth to a child? It should be true. If she's really as bad as the rumors say, the school wouldn't have specially issued a statement to protect her. I think so too. I thought it was strange at first. Fengwu looked so obedient, so why would she do something as shameless as giving birth to a child out of wedlock? Turns out it was all a misunderstanding. But she's really unlucky to have eaten the pregnancy fruit and become a mother at such a young age. Isn't that so? She's too unlucky. The voices of disdain and insults towards Fengwu had disappeared in less than half a day, leaving behind only sympathy and curiosity. This incident should have been a fatal blow to Fengwu's reputation, but in less than half a day, the tide had turned. Although not all of the voices of condemnation towards Fengwu had heard the news, there were no longer as many people who harbored ill intentions towards her. When Rika saw the announcement, she gritted her teeth so hard that they almost shattered. She could not believe that this incident, which should have dealt a huge blow to a girl's reputation, had been resolved in less than half a day after she was despised by the entire school. How could she accept this? Fengwu's bad reputation had been mostly cleared, and the news of Rika running around naked in the girls' dormitory slowly spread. Previously, there weren't many people talking about it because there was a bigger gossip. Now that the gossip about Fengwu had been clarified, the girls naturally used Rika's naked running incident as a joke. To be honest, Rika was just a new student, so not many people knew her. If it wasn't for Anika calling out her name, those seniors would only know that she was a new student and wouldn't know her name at all. After realizing this, Rika started to hate Anika. She even started to suspect that Anika was trying to frame her by calling out her name in that situation. Because of this suspicion, Rika and Anika's relationship fell to a freezing point. In the dormitory and in class, they went from being close friends to strangers. Anika was a cheerful and lively girl. In their class, Anika definitely had more friends than Rika. Although Anika felt wronged by Rika's estrangement, she didn't shamelessly ask for Rika's friendship back. Anika's birth status wasn't lower than Rika's to begin with. She was also a spoiled little princess in her family since she was young. Anika couldn't bring herself to beg for Rika's sake without her dignity. Moreover, their friendship hadn't reached the point where one of them couldn't live without the other. These were all for later, so let's not talk about them for now. Let's talk about how Rika felt when she heard that the main character of the rumors in school had changed from Fengwu back to herself. She returned to the dormitory with a gloomy face. Not long after she returned, Silda and Rika came in one after another. Fengwu was the last to return. Xiaobai carried Little Bun directly into Fengwu's room. Fengwu was left in the living room by Silda to ask Little Bun about Little Bun. In the past, they had asked Fengwu who Little Bun's father was, but Fengwu had always pursed her lips and refused to say anything. Now that they finally knew Little Bun's background, they didn't expect to find out in such a way. Rika felt uncomfortable all over when she saw Silda's gloating expression. She felt like everyone in the dormitory was laughing at her. This made the arrogant Rika feel like she was going crazy. After glaring hatefully at Fengwu and Silda, Rika went upstairs alone and locked herself in her room. She didn't even come out to eat when it was dinner time. Rika kindly packed some food from the restaurant for Rika, but Rika didn't appreciate it at all. She didn't even open the door for Anika. As for Silda, she didn't like Rika's princess-like personality. Fengwu naturally didn't care about Rika either. From the moment she moved into this dormitory, Fengwu knew that Rika didn't like her. Fengwu also didn't like the way she looked at Rika. She was never one to please others, so naturally, she didn't care about what Rika was thinking. A few days later, Fengwu didn't see Mingxi in the restaurant again. She was a little unhappy. Ajur, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want to see Fengwu like a moth to a flame. Although Ming Shi was a good marriage partner, his family wasn't likely to accept Fengwu. He didn't want Fengwu to be hurt in the future. In order to stop Fengwu from thinking about Ming Shi, he used the excuse that he had enough rest, and brought Fengwu to the Adventurers Guild again. The guild was still as crowded as before. The receptionist was still as beautiful as ever. After the two entered the guild, they went to the mission board to choose a mission. Because the last mission required them to go to another country, which had a big impact on their studies, Ajur planned to find two missions that were close to them, and didn't require them to go too far away to do them. After choosing for a long time, he finally found a decent quest. This quest was very simple, but it was a little troublesome. The quest was to find a lost pet dog. This dog belonged to a noble lady. This lady was famous for doting on her pets as much as her own life. This time, she offered a high price of 500 gold coins to find her beloved dog. In the Adventurers Guild, this kind of mission could be accepted by multiple people. The last person to find the person would be considered to have completed the mission, and would receive the reward. After successfully accepting the dog hunting mission, Ajur wanted to see if there were any other good missions to accept. Suddenly, the mission board refreshed. Heavens! A reward of 200,000 gold coins. I can't believe it. I actually saw the legendary S-rank mission. It's been a long time since someone posted a mission of this level. No wonder the reward is so high. Chapter 94. Quick, look at the person who issued the quest. Why is it anonymous? Quest details. Destroy the marriage between Sir John Germain and Lady Minnery. The successful party will receive 200,000 gold coins as a reward. Quick, look at the requirements. There is no level restriction for adventurers. This is too lucky. Doesn't this mean that low-level adventurers like us can also do this quest? There was no level requirement for adventurers. When Ajur heard this, he immediately ran to the front desk to find the receptionist and expressed his desire to accept the quest. I'm sorry, but you can't accept this quest. The receptionist smiled and said good-naturedly. What? Didn't you say that there is no level restriction? Ajur's eyes were red as he looked at the receptionist angrily. It was obvious that he couldn't accept this. Fengwu stood aside obediently and looked at the obviously angry Ajur. You're right. There is no level restriction for this quest, but this is a team quest. Only a team of 5 or more people can accept it. The receptionist directly flashed a quest list and let Ajur see the small words on it. F***CK. What kind of stupid rule is this? Ajur scolded angrily, but he had to accept this reality. This little brother, are you worried about forming a team to do the mission? It just so happens that the 3 of us also want to do this 200,000 yuan mission, but we don't have enough people to accept it. Why don't we make do with it? The person who spoke had long gray hair and black eyes. He looked very confident and handsome. Yes. There are 2 of you and 3 of us. There are 5 of us. How about it? Make do. This time, it was a girl who spoke. The girl was beautiful and generous. Her skin was as white as snow, and her long legs were wrapped in a swordmaster's uniform. Although she wasn't a great beauty, she was delicate and charming. Ajur thought about it and agreed. It would be difficult for him to find 3 people to form a team now. It would be better to add these 3 guys. If they had any malicious intentions, Ajur wasn't afraid of fighting with them. Please give your team a name. The receptionist said. Berserker. This name has already been registered. World. This name can't be used. Berserker. The beautiful receptionist shook her head. Jiushao. He continued to shake his head. Longtone. He still shook his head. Why go through so much trouble? Let's just call him expert. Ajur could no longer enjoy looking at people and shaking his head endlessly. Although these names were all thought up by the 3 of them, he only thought of this one. Alright, the expert team has been successfully registered. Just like that, a small team named Experts was finally registered. It was really worth celebrating. The 5 of them finally accepted the quest. After accepting the quest, The 5 of them found a noodle restaurant to eat ramen. There weren't many people in the noodle house, and the 5 of them had taken up an entire floor. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Tingyu. This guy is my twin brother Tingfeng. Let him introduce the one beside him. The only girl among the 3 pointed at a cute boy with dark blue hair. Upon a closer look, the 2 of them did look similar. They both had dark blue hair and eyes. It was hard not to think that they were a family. My name is Pei Qing. I'm a space magician. I'll allow you to call me Little Qing. Pei Qing combed his waist-length hair and pretended to be generous. Ignore this guy. He's a pervert. He's only interested in women's stuff. His hobby is to collect women's makeup powder, clothes, and all kinds of beautiful jewelry. What do you think? Isn't he perverted enough? Tingyu glared at Pei Qing in disdain. Pei Qing pretended not to see it. You two, from the looks of it, are you students of Notre Dame du Starlight? The cute boy listened to the wind and finished his big bowl of meat noodles. He wiped his mouth with a tissue and said with a very cute smile. Ajur was silent for a moment. It was the first time he saw someone who ate just a little slower than Fengwu. My name is Ajur. I'm a fire magician. This is Sword Mistress Fengwu. But how did you know that we're from Notre Dame du Starlight? Ajur frowned. They had changed their clothes. How did this guy know who they were? I was right. I knew I was right. Your Notre Dame du Starlight will give out strange missions to earn money every year when new students enter the school. That's why 9 out of 10 young people who enter the Adventurers Guild to register as adventurers are new students who specifically register as adventurers. Xiaowu, why aren't you saying anything? Say something. Tingyu was very interested in the only person of the same sex. She moved closer to Fengwu and smiled cutely. Fengwu blinked. Hello. She looked at Tingyu and the other 2 seriously and greeted them. Hello. You don't have to be so serious. We'll be more casual. Tingyu scratched her head. She didn't understand why the atmosphere had become so serious. All right, let's cut the small talk. What do you think about this mission? Let's hear it. Ajur finished his bowl and wiped his mouth elegantly. Shouldn't the leader be the one to think of a solution? Tingyu smiled innocently. Tingfeng and Pei Qing looked at Ajur at the same time. Their expressions said, "It's all up to you." Ajur really wanted to chop them up. You're telling me that you won't think of a solution and won't do anything. Then why did I form a team with you? Let's just disband. Ajur smiled coldly. He had no interest in being a sucker. That's not impossible. We're in charge of executing the mission. The leader is in charge of thinking. Look at how clear the manpower is. What do you think? Tingfeng immediately tried to curry favor with Ajur when she heard his tone. You'll listen to whatever I say? Ajur looked at the 3 of them playfully. Yes, yes, of course. Tingyu and the other 2 nodded vigorously. All right then. Let me talk about it first. Our mission is to break up Sir John Germain and Lady Minori's marriage. Who knows when their wedding will be? Ajur knew nothing about these 2 mission targets. He could only hope that these 3 monsters would be of some use. I know. Tingfeng, who was the cutest, raised her hand excitedly. Their wedding will be held in 2 months. 2 more months. That's plenty of time. Ajur nodded. Then he asked, what do you know about these 2 mission targets? I know. Sir John Germain is a young aristocrat. I heard that his family is very rich, and he's very popular with women. As for Lady Minori, there aren't many rumors about her. I only heard that she's a peerless beauty. Moreover, she's the cousin of the Empress of the Soya Empire. She's so high in status. Pei Qing sighed. Pei Qing was also a handsome man. Why weren't there any rich and beautiful women who wanted to marry him? Chapter 95. The location of the mission is in the Soya Empire? Ajur was so focused on the 200,000 reward that he didn't notice that the location of the mission was quite far away. Although the Soya Empire wasn't a big country, it was still quite famous among the medium-sized empires. Yet, isn't it written on the mission list? Tingyu blinked innocently. What should we do now? Should we go to the Soya Empire immediately? Pei Qing asked excitedly. No, Xiao Wu and I have something else to do. We'll go to the Soya Empire after we're done with this. Ajur shook his head and rejected the suggestion. What is it? The three asked in unison. Looking for the dog. The three of them. Fengwu, she held the cup and sipped water. Because Ajur and Fengwu had accepted a dog mission, the five of them naturally postponed their trip to the Soya Empire. At this moment, the five of them were standing in front of the mission issuer's door. Are we going to visit the owner? Pei Qing combed his long hair. Ajur couldn't be bothered with the three monsters who insisted on following them. Xiao Wu, it's up to you. Okay. Fengwu responded and walked to a big tree. She placed her hand on the tree trunk and closed her eyes. What is she doing? Ting Yu asked. Is she absorbing the wood's spiritual energy? Ting Feng touched her chin in surprise. Yeah, I don't understand, Pei Qing said seriously. TSK, you don't understand and you're still talking about it. Ting Yu and Ting Feng chased after Pei Qing and gave each of them a popcorn popper. Ajur just stood at the side and chuckled calmly. Would he tell these fish-lipped mortals what his Xiao Wu was doing? Let them guess. Over there. About 2 minutes later, Fengwu put down her hand and pointed in a direction. Let's go, it's time to work, Ajur ordered, and everyone followed the direction that Fengwu pointed. Not long after, Fengwu found a tree and placed her palm on it. Not long after, she pointed in another direction, and the five of them started running in the same direction. After repeating this process many times, the owner of the dog was finally found in an abandoned hut. However, the dog's leg seemed to be injured. There were dried bloodstains on its leg. When he walked over to take a look, it turned out that its leg was really broken. When Xiao Kuang saw someone coming over, it barked pitifully, which made people feel sad. F***CK, who is so cruel to actually do such a thing to a dog? Ting Yu was an ordinary girl. Girls usually had no resistance to cute animals. Now that such a cute puppy was seriously injured in front of her, the little girl's eyes turned red with heartache. Fengwu squatted down and carefully picked up the little thing. The puppy seemed to like Fengwu very much. It kept barking, as if it was complaining to its mother. Take it to see a doctor. Fengwu looked at Ajur seriously. Ajur had always known Fengwu. This girl didn't talk much, but every time she spoke she was serious. Ajur didn't want to stop Fengwu from taking the dog to see a doctor. Not now. We have to let the owner see that her baby is injured. Only then will she find the bad guy. Xiao Wu also wants the bad guy to be punished, right? Ajur stroked the girl's head and smoothed her hair very skillfully. The girl lowered her head and thought for a while. Finally she nodded and agreed. The five of them headed towards the place where the mission issuer lived. When the servants guarding the door saw that they had returned with their master's dog, they were all overjoyed. They immediately rushed into the villa to report the good news to their master. Not long after, Fengwu and the others were invited in by the dog's owner. The dog's owner was a widow who had lost her husband. Moreover, she was a very rich widow. Thank you, adventurers. Thank you for helping me find my baby. When the chubby woman saw the puppy in Fengwu's arms, she immediately rushed in front of Fengwu and reached out her chubby hands to hug her precious dog. No, it's injured. Fengwu stepped back, and the chubby woman naturally missed. The chubby woman was a little unhappy at first, but when she heard Fengwu's words, she immediately became nervous. Her husband had died, and she didn't have any children. Naturally, she doted on her only pet dog. When she heard that her baby was injured, how could she not be nervous? How could it be injured? Who did it? When I find him, I'll skin him alive. The chubby woman's heart ached. When she thought of the bad guy who hurt her baby, she couldn't help but want to cut him into pieces. We don't know yet. When we found it, its leg was already broken, and there were bloodstains on its body. Ting Yu looked at the puppy in Fengwu's arms with pity. Naturally, she didn't have a good impression of the person who hurt a small animal. Quick, go get a doctor. Go get a doctor. When the chubby woman heard that her baby's leg was broken, she panicked and called for a doctor. After the servant who went to get a doctor left, a 15 or 16-year-old girl came in with a tray. On the tray was a big pot of flower tea and a few clean cups. This woman was obviously a servant in the house. However, this girl looked very fair and clean. which made her very likable. The girl put down the cup and poured tea for the 5 people and the chubby woman. She bowed and turned to leave. Wait a minute. You have to apologize to the baby. Fengwu suddenly looked at the maid angrily. What's wrong? What's going on? The chubby woman looked at the maid, and then at Fengwu suspiciously. This maid was one of her favorite maids. The little girl was very cute. She worked as a maid for her family, and was very diligent. Madam, don't you understand? Your maid is probably the one who hurt your baby. Ajur was indeed Fengwu's good friend. He understood the gist of what Fengwu said. When Fengwu heard that Ajur understood what she meant, her eyes curved slightly. It was obvious that she was in a good mood. After hearing Ajur's words, the young maid's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Even the tray in her hand fell to the ground. Obviously, she was quite frightened. After a while, the maid seemed to come to her senses. She shook her head desperately and cried, "No, it's not me. Madam, I didn't. I'm innocent." The chubby woman, who was about to lose her temper, couldn't bear to see her crying so miserably. Are you sure? This kind of thing can't be said without evidence. Nana has been working in my house for a long time. I have always taken good care of her. How could she hurt my baby? The chubby woman was a kind person. Thinking of Nana's usual behavior, it was hard to believe that she would hurt a cute little animal. Chapter 96. I believe in Fengwu. What Xiao Wu said must be true. Ajur directly ignored the weeping Vanna. He didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Ajur believed in Fengwu 100%. Even if Fengwu couldn't produce any evidence in the end, he still believed in her. Young masters, young miss, how can you ruin my reputation without any evidence? Although I am just a little maid, I also know how to repay kindness. Madam's kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain. How can I hurt Madam's beloved pet? After hearing Ajur's words, Vanna secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then she cried even more pitifully. Her face was full of innocence. I don't have any evidence, but Bao Bao can prove that it was you who took it out and hurt it. Fengwu didn't like Vanna. Since childhood, Fengwu was a good child who loved small animals. She didn't have any good feelings for bad people like Vanna who hurt small animals. Bao Bao can't speak at all. How can it prove anything? Vanna heard this and looked at Fengwu incredulously. What a joke, letting a dog testify. She thought that there was really a capable person who came, but it turned out to be just an idiot. Vanna secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She knew that if what she did was discovered by Madame, her end would definitely not be good. So she would not admit to taking away and hurting Bao Bao. As long as she insisted, she didn't believe that these adventurers could do anything to her. Miss Fengwu, Vanna is right. My Bao Bao can't speak. How can it testify for you? Madame shook her head and laughed. If I say it can, then it can. Fengwu looked at Madame seriously. She wanted Madame to say that she didn't lie. Master said that lying was not good, so she never lied. Baby, if she's the one who scratched or hurt you, just scream twice. If she's not, just scream once. Fengwu pointed at Vanna, who was still standing there in a daze. The puppy first glanced at Vanna with obvious fear in its eyes. Although it hadn't barked yet, the look in its eyes was enough to say that something was wrong. Bao Bao was originally very afraid of the bad person who threw him away and hurt him, but under Fengwu's encouragement, he bravely barked twice at Vanna. Although Bao Bao had never seen the girl holding it, it liked the smell of her body. She must be a good person. Puppies' thoughts were very simple. Their judgment of good and evil was often more accurate than humans. What else do you have to say, Vanna? The fat lady didn't have to trust Fengwu and the other strangers, but she had to trust her dog. After seeing the frightened look in her baby's eyes and hearing the 2 barks, the fat lady had to believe that the maid who had thrown her baby away was the one who had taken good care of her. Wana could see that the situation was over. She sat on the ground and cried. How could this be? How could this be? It's all your fault. Why did you have to take that stinky dog back? Why did you have to be so meddlesome? Wana let out 2 angry roars. She hated Fengwu to the bone for putting her in such a situation. Wana, I don't think I've done anything wrong to you. You know how important Bao Bao is to me. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can come to me. Why did you hurt Bao Bao? What does Bao Bao know? The fat lady was really angry. She really did not expect that the maid she had been kind to would treat her like this. Why? You ask me why? Hee madam, you're obviously so rich. Why didn't you help my family? You'd rather spend money on a stinky dog than help my family. Don't you love that dog very much? I deliberately took it out and broke its legs so that it could never come back. It could only starve to death on the street. Let's see how you treasure that dog. Wana was obviously ready to break the pot. She did not plead for mercy for herself at first. Instead, she began to criticize her master. Didn't I help you? Your father's business failed. Your family owed a large amount of debt. Who helped you deal with it? Your mother was seriously ill. Who gave you money to hire a doctor? Your family was so poor that they didn't even have a place to live. I helped your family find a cheap house. Even your brother's job and your father's job were found by me. Speak with your conscience. I've done so much. Isn't it enough to help you? Do I have to give you all my wealth to help you? The fat lady sneered as she spoke. She didn't know whether she was laughing at Wana's ingratitude or laughing at her own blindness. She mistook the ingrate for a little white rabbit. After listening to the fat lady's words, Tingyu and the others realized that the fat lady was so good to this Wana. They really didn't see it. Originally, they thought that she was a person who was difficult to get along with. If you want to help me, why don't you help me pay off all the money? Why do you want my family of 4 to pay off the debt with such a meager income? You said that you want to help me, but you just want to highlight your kindness. A hypocritical person like you only deserves to have a dog to accompany you. The more Wana said, the more vicious she became. The more she said, the more she felt that what she said was reasonable. What did she mean by doing so much for her? What kindness? This was simply hypocrisy. She just wanted to use her kindness to earn a good reputation for herself. What was the use of a fat widow's reputation? She was still not liked by men. So that's what you think of me. Since you think I'm a hypocrite, why do you still want to work for my family and enjoy the benefits I give you? Since you think I'm being nice to you because I'm up to no good, you can totally reject it and find another job. But you didn't do that. You stay in my family and enjoy the benefits I give you, but behind my back, you feel that you are being used by others and that others don't sincerely help you. You are the real hypocrite. Although the fat lady had a good heart, she was by no means a saint. After paying a certain amount of affection, she was said to be hypocritical. Even if she had more feelings for Wana, it was all gone because Wana bit the hand that fed her. Wana's face twisted when she heard the fat lady's words. It was because her family was too poor that she had to accept the fat lady's charity. That was why she hated the fat lady so much. Well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Housekeeper, immediately send this maid to the city lord's mansion. I can't afford to have this ungrateful maid. Since you think that I'm hypocritical, then your family should still be the same. I don't want to be hated by others after doing a good deed. Chapter 97. The fat lady waved her hand, and the housekeeper immediately went over to grab Vanna's hand, wanting to drag her out. When Vanna heard the fat lady's decision, she felt bad. No, you can't do this, you can't hurt my family. Vanna crazily shouted. Her eyes were full of hatred. This lady is not like you. I don't have a vicious heart. Although this lady won't do anything to your family, I will take back all the benefits they got from this lady. Your family has nothing from now on. You will continue to live with nothing. The fat lady's mouth hung a trace of a sneer, daring to make a move on her baby. She should think of the consequences. The housekeeper grabbed Vanna and dragged her out. The fat lady's housekeeper was also a swordsman, and his strength was not low. Grabbing Vanna was like grabbing a chicken. Vanna still wanted to struggle, but unfortunately, she was just an ordinary person. How could she escape from the hands of a swordsman? The housekeeper grabbed Vanna and walked out. For someone like Vanna, this was the first time she saw a maid like her. She had never seen such an unconscientious maid who took her master's kindness for granted. Who did she think she was, a mere maid, daring to have resentment towards her master, and even daring to hurt her master's pet? This kind of disloyal maid, The city lord's mansion would naturally have people to deal with her. Tingyu and the other two were surprised. It was also the first time they saw a maid like Vanna who didn't understand the situation. They felt that the world was really wonderful. Sure enough, there were all kinds of birds in the forest. After seeing that the baby was cured, Fengwu left the fat lady's house with Ajur and the others. The fat lady readily confirmed that Fengwu had completed the task. As long as she went to the Adventurers Guild to submit the task, the reward of 500 gold coins could be received. The next day, Fengwu and Ajur both asked for leave. They planned to leave for the Soya Empire early in the morning. Although the task was still 2 months away, there were still a lot of people who had accepted the task. What if someone had a sudden burst of luck and completed the task? After asking for leave, Ajur and the others prepared for the next day to gather at the transmission array. But when they were about to leave, they found a not too big nor too small problem. You three mean you have no money? Ajur's smile was peaceful, but it made people feel a bone-deep murderous aura. We have no money. All of our money was used to register as adventurers. The rest is just a little living expenses, adding up to less than 10 gold coins. Tingyu carefully hid behind her brother, afraid that Ajur would be impulsive and break her cute little neck. Don't be like this, we'll just take it as a loan. When we get the money, we'll pay back what we owe you. Tingfeng looked at Ajur with a kind face. They all knew that although Ajur and Fengwu were both rich, Ajur was obviously the one in charge, so if they wanted to borrow money, they could only ask Ajur. If they dared to borrow money directly from Fengwu, they were afraid that Ajur would directly send a fireball to each of them. That's right, we'll definitely pay it back. As long as we get this 200,000 gold coins, each of us will get at least 40,000 gold coins. We won't refuse to pay back what we owe. Pei Qing quickly said, afraid that he would be turned into a human barbecue by this ferocious guy. If you want me to help pay for it, that's fine, but when you pay back the money, you have to pay back double. Ajur was not a person who was willing to suffer a loss. With one look, he knew that these guys were going to eat them up. It would be strange if he let them have their way. Pei Qing and the other two had no choice but to obediently nod and enter the teleportation array one by one like abused wives. When the 5 of them came out of the teleportation array, they had already arrived at the Soya Empire. The Soya Empire was different from the Ice Mound Kingdom, which had ice and snow all year round. Here, it was like spring all year round. Even when it was winter, the weather was not very cold. Walking on the streets, one could easily see hawkers selling things and pedestrians playing on the streets. Let's go. Let's find a place to stay first before we discuss further. Pei Qing had already walked out of the pain of being forced to pay double the teleportation array fee. As soon as he arrived at the Soya Empire, he was full of energy again. He even curiously looked around to see if there was anything suitable for his collection. Taking the teleportation array is really fast. Back when we first came out, we all took the flying beast carriage. Although it was a double room, it took too long. I stayed in the flying beast carriage for half a month. I was bored to death. After enjoying the high speed of the teleportation array, and thinking about the flying beast carriage, Tingyu decisively turned on her complaining mode. Tingfeng nodded vigorously at the side. It was obvious that she agreed with Tingyu's words. Xiao Wu, do you want to eat some of the Soya Empire's specialty snacks? Ajur was too lazy to pay attention to the 3 monsters. He held Fengwu's little hand and brought her to the snack stall. Yes. The Fengwu girl's eyes sparkled. She looked extremely cute. Don't be like this. We are a small team. If you want to eat, let's go together. The 3 of them quickly shouted and followed. The capital city of the Soya Empire was full of people. Walking on the streets, one could see the snack stalls everywhere. It was simply dazzling. There were many kinds of specialty snacks here. Not only were they snacks from the Soya Empire, but there were also many civilians from other countries who came here to do business. They all sold the flavors of their own hometown. The group of 5 started to eat from the first snack stall, and ate to their heart's content. In order to eat something delicious, Tingyu and the other 2 borrowed from the loan sharks. When they borrowed, they were all frowning, but when the food was in their mouths, they were all grinning from ear to ear. Little girl, do you want to try my family's secret sesame seed cake? It's guaranteed to be delicious. Eat mine, eat mine. My family's snacks have been passed down for hundreds of years. When the hawkers saw Fengwu and the others approaching, they immediately greeted them. Although there was a lot of traffic, the hawkers who sold snacks also wanted to attract more customers. The hawkers were just short of using all kinds of martial arts. Fengwu took a fancy to a shop that sold roast duck. The 5 of them went in to eat roast duck together. They didn't expect to see someone who shouldn't be there when they went up to the second floor. Senior Mingxi. When Fengwu saw the figure sitting on the second floor drinking tea, her eyes lit up. How unlucky. They had already walked to the Soya Empire and still bumped into him. Why did this guy come out and walk around for no reason? Couldn't he just stay in the academy? Ajur was blatantly biased. Why didn't he think about the fact that they were the ones who came later? This can't be the legendary brave little junior, right? Elena suddenly thought of the identity of the person who came. Her whole body immediately ignited with a strong flame of gossip. Chapter 98. You have to be careful. I have a bad feeling when I see Elena's eyes. Arguros couldn't help but whisper into Mingxi's ear. Senior Elena likes to tease cute little girls and boys. That girl will definitely be teased later. Ruglas looked at the cute girl in front of him and couldn't help but sigh for the black-haired girl. Is she really the girl who confessed to you and wrote a love letter? I don't think so. This girl doesn't seem to have such a bold personality. Arguros rubbed his chin and asked softly, "Eat your food. Even such a big roast duck can't stop you." Mingxi rolled his eyes at the two and calmly drank his tea. He obviously didn't plan to pay attention to Elena and the others. Skycliff was as silent as ever. He didn't say a word and just kept eating. Skycliff had 2 hobbies in his life. One was sword practice, and the other was food. In front of these 2 hobbies, everything else had to stand aside. Junior, are you Fengwu? You wrote a love letter to Mingxi and even confessed to him. Elena's voice was full of excitement. Her eyes were as bright as magic lamps. It can't be. Xiaowu is actually so tough? She dared to confess to a senior and write a love letter. If it was my sister, it might be possible. But if it was Xiaowu, it's simply unbelievable. Tingfeng said while shaking her head. She obviously couldn't accept this fact. Get lost. Tingyu bluntly kicked away her good-for-nothing brother, and successfully came to Fengwu's side. Xiaowu, quickly tell me what's going on. That peerlessly handsome man over there is your sweetheart, right? No wonder Xiaowu would confess to him. How can there be such a good-looking man in this world? He's really as beautiful as the moon. Tingyu looked at Mingxi's face with an infatuated expression. Xiaowu, you really like that guy. You can't just judge people by their appearance. Some people are golden on the outside but rotten on the inside. You can't be fooled by that pretty boy. Pei Qing, who always thought of himself as a rare handsome man, couldn't stay calm after seeing Mingxi. How can there be such a good-looking man in this world? This family must have only one face to look at. They must have no strength, no wealth, no wealth. Yes, that must be it. Just as Pei Qing finished speaking, he suddenly felt a biting cold murderous intent. He saw a silver flash, and before he could even see what was attacking him, it had already arrived in front of Pei Qing. Just when everyone thought that Pei Qing was doomed, Pei Qing actually disappeared in front of them. When he reappeared, he was hiding behind Ajur. Holy shit! Who are you? Why did you attack without saying anything? Pei Qing's face was full of fear as he stuck half of his head out from behind Ajur and shouted, "How can this be? I actually didn't stab him. If I did, this guy's character would be bad and he would die. Each of us would get an extra 10,000 gold coins." Tingyu looked at Skycliff in disappointment. Her meaning couldn't be more obvious. Why didn't you work harder and kill that guy? You look like an expert. How can you drop the ball like this? What a pity. Tingfeng was also disappointed. Luckily, I've always been lucky. If I really died and turned into a vengeful spirit, I would ask you for my money back. Pei Qing stuck his head out from behind Ajur. You're strong. Fight me. Skycliff completely ignored Tingfeng and Tingyu. He looked directly at Pei Qing, who was hiding behind Ajur. Skycliff's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. It was the kind of look that would only appear when he met a worthy opponent. I didn't expect him to be a space magician. Space magicians are very rare even in the sacred court, Arguros said in surprise. They had never seen this young man before. He clearly didn't feel strong, but he was able to dodge Skycliff's attack. How could they not know how fast Skycliff's sword was? They didn't expect such an ordinary-looking young man to be a space magician. And judging from how he successfully dodged Skycliff's attack, this young man's strength wasn't as weak as he appeared to be. This young man's background isn't simple. Don't you think so, Mingxi? Ruglas said. Mingxi nodded calmly without saying anything. He wasn't interested in the background of the people around Fengwu. Mingxi didn't want to have anything to do with Fengwu. He didn't want to be confessed to by the Fengwu girl again. This kind of confession happened every time they met, and the time and place of the confession was so troublesome. Big brother, please spare me. You look like a super master. I'm just a little magician. How can I be your opponent? In order to avoid a strange duel with a master, Peiqing wanted to throw himself into the dust. Enough, stop quarreling. Skycliff, go back. If you dare to randomly pull out your sword and stab randomly, I'll go to your room tonight and talk about life with you under the quilt. Elena couldn't stand it anymore and shouted at Skycliff. She just wanted to flirt with the girl. Why was he so difficult to deal with? This threat was obviously very useful to Skycliff. The originally cold sword-wielding young man's ears suddenly turned a little red. It wasn't clear whether it was from anger or shyness, but it was probably the former. Skycliff glanced at Elena and finally put away his sword. He returned to Mingxi's side and sat down. Good, now that everyone had left, Elena was finally happy. She grabbed Fengwu's little hand and said, "Come, cute little junior. Come and tell me why you like my little brother Mingxi. He's famous for not getting close to women. Don't look at how gentle he is to girls. In fact, he's the kind of person who cares about everyone but doesn't care about anyone. He has the hidden attribute of being a scumbag. Why don't you consider me? I'm as beautiful as a flower and have a hot body. Which part of me isn't better than that brat?" After hearing this string of bombardment, Ajur's face turned ashen. He slapped Elena's hand away from Fengwu's little hand. Then he pulled the dazed Fengwu girl to the side. He was afraid that she would be seduced by this shameless female hooligan in front of him. "I can't consider you. You can't be Xiaoye's father." Fengwu, who had been hidden behind Ajur, finally came back to her senses. The first thing she did after coming back to her senses was to say something that was so shocking that it was as if she didn't want to die. "Young girl, shouldn't you be fiercely rejecting some female hooligans flirting? What's the meaning of your reaction? Fengwu, can two women get married in this world? What a strange place. Junior, you really know how to joke." Elena was speechless for the first time. Chapter 99. This junior is really interesting. I support you. Take down our Mingxi. Arguros shouted at the top of his voice and successfully received a roll of the eyes from Mingxi. Don't be like this. This junior is quite cute, isn't she? This guy obviously wanted to see the world in chaos. Are you guys family? Fengwu looked at Arguros suspiciously. We are friends. We are good brothers from the same dorm. We are almost like family. Arguros' gloating smile froze before he explained. Oh, I know. You guys are friends. Just like Ajur and I are friends. Fengwu girl nodded. She understood. Wasn't this obvious? Was it that hard to understand? Come and sit with us. This restaurant's roast duck is delicious. We ordered a lot but we haven't started eating yet. Come and eat with us. Senior Arguros is treating today. Don't be shy. It's okay to eat a little more. Ruglas stood up and greeted them. Ajur really didn't want to go over. In Ajur's eyes, Mingxi was a pretty boy who kidnapped his cute girl. Naturally, the people with him couldn't be good people. However, in the whole team, only Ajur had a problem with Mingxi and the others. Even Peiqing, who seemed to have been stabbed by a sword, didn't care at all. As soon as he heard Ruglas calling them over, he and Tingfeng supported Ajur on both sides. Tingyu pulled Fengwu along. The five of them consciously went over and sat down. The tables on the second floor were very large, and each table could seat 10 people. When the 5 of them sat down, it was just enough for a table of 10 people. Beast Glass ordered another 5 roast ducks and half a roast demon mutton. The entire table was filled with meat dishes, not a single vegetable could be seen. Are you all seniors from the same school as our captain? We're in the same team as Captain Ajur and Xiao Wu. My name is Ting Yu, and this is my older brother, Ting Feng. The one beside him is Pei Qing. Nice to meet you. Ting Yu pulled a roast duck leg and said as she ate. She didn't care that her mouth was oily. Which school are you from? Elena shifted her attention away from Feng Wu. She was interested in the 3 youths who had teamed up with Feng Wu. We're new adventurers from the Adventurers Guild. We're not from any school, said Ting Feng, who was nibbling on a duck's neck. So that's how it is. Did you come to the Soya Empire for a mission? Arguros asked. Mingxi listened to their questions and answers. He slowly cut some roast demon mutton and ate it. He didn't participate in their conversation at all. However, Feng Wu's gaze made him a little uncomfortable. Yes, we're here for a mission. However, the mission must be kept a secret. Even if you're a beauty, I can't tell you. Ting Feng looked at Elena and said seriously. Don't just talk about us. Senior Mingxi, you didn't come to the Soya Empire to play, right? Ajur didn't like Mingxi for a long time. He wanted to find fault with him whenever he had the chance. We came here to attend a friend's wedding. The wedding is in 2 months. We can also take advantage of this time to go to the Soya Empire to gain experience. Mingxi just smiled good-naturedly at Ajur's unfriendly attitude. He wasn't unhappy at all. Are you here to attend Sir John Germain and Lady Minori's wedding? Ting Yu couldn't help but ask when she heard that the wedding was in 2 months. Are you here to attend the wedding too? Such a coincidence? Arguros and Ruglas exchanged glances. Of course not. We just heard about it. Their wedding is a big event. Everyone in the Soya Empire must know about it, right? Pei Qing responded quickly. As he spoke, he stepped on Ting Yu's foot. Can't this guy see that these people are friends with the bride and groom? If they knew that these people teamed up to ruin their friend's wedding, they would definitely kill them in advance. That's right, haha. Ting Yu laughed dryly. She cursed Pei Qing in her heart. She cursed him to break his legs. Mingxi and the others exchanged glances. These guys were suspicious. The mission they were doing was related to the 2 newbies. Ajur secretly cursed. Didn't you see the look in Mingxi's eyes? They must be flattering him. He rolled his eyes in his heart. He secretly decided that after this mission, he must part ways with these guys. Being with these monsters would definitely be a burden. Among the group, only Feng Wu was the calmest. She was now fully focused on 2 things. Eating and looking at Mingxi. Eating and looking at Mingxi. Feng Wu girl's eyes made Mingxi feel like he was some kind of food. It was so strange. After the 2 parties enjoyed a delightful roast duck feast, they bade each other farewell and left. Ajur and the others did not take this chance encounter to heart. Feng Wu was quite happy. She was now working hard towards her goal of making Mingxi the father of her child. Unlike Feng Wu's group, Mingxi and the others noticed the strangeness of Feng Wu's group. After they left, they immediately contacted their friends in Central City and asked them to help check if there were any missions related to the wedding. After checking, they found one, and it happened to be the mission that Feng Wu's group had accepted. Could this mission be issued by one of German's admirers, his future wife's suitor, or some other faction that doesn't want to see the marriage between the 2 families? Arguros could only think of these 3 possibilities. That's not very likely. Although the first and second possibilities are more likely, there aren't many nobles who can spend 200,000 gold coins to issue this mission. Their suitors are about the same age as them, and they are still young masters and mistresses who ask for money from their families. They don't have much money at their disposal. Moreover, with such a large expenditure, it was impossible for their family to not be aware of it. The possibility of them secretly going to the Adventurers Guild to issue such a mission was too low. As for the third possibility, it was more likely than the first 2. It's just that it's too high profile. Although the person who issued the mission purposely went to Central City to issue the mission, there's still a risk of it being leaked. It's not something that those old foxes would do. Chapter 100. Mingxi pondered for a moment before voicing his opinion. This matter was too strange. There were many possibilities, but none of them seemed likely. Mingxi is right. This matter is too strange. However, no matter what the person who issued this mission is, I believe that something big will happen on the day of the wedding. Let's wait and see, Skycliff said coldly. In the end, Mingxi and the others planned to go on an adventure, could only be temporarily put on hold. Their friend's wedding was about to be ruined. How could they just leave like that? On the other hand, after Fengwu and the others ate a delicious meal and roast duck, the group lazily went to find a cheap hotel to stay in. The 5 of them booked 3 rooms, 1 single room and 2 double rooms. Fengwu and Tingyu stayed in 1 room. Tingfeng and Peiqing stayed in the other room, and Ajur stayed in the last room. His original words were, "This young master doesn't want to stay in the same room as 2 stinky men." Well, he was the team leader. Moreover, Tingyu and the other 2's expenses were deducted from the mission reward. In order to prevent them from running away and not paying up, he even made them sign an IOU. After a good night's sleep, the group gathered in Ajur's room at noon the next day to discuss the big plan. What do we do now? Are we really going to wait until the day of the wedding to rob the bride or the groom? Tingyu bit her lip and asked lazily. She had slept for too long. She slept until her whole body was lazy. I don't think so. The wedding day will definitely be heavily guarded. And I'm afraid that we won't be the only team that will choose to rob the bride on that day. It's too difficult to snatch a bride from so many strong teams. Tingyu shook his head, directly rejecting this idea. Idiot, do you think I asked you to come here 2 months in advance just to wait for the wedding to start and then rob the bride or groom? You're all so stupid. Don't even mention the fact that I'm in the same team as you. I can't afford to lose face like that. Ajur looked at them with disdain. He didn't have any hope for their IQ at all. Captain, could it be that you've already thought of an idea? Peiqing approached with a fawning expression. Get lost. Don't disgust me. Ajur bluntly sent him flying. The quest only asked us to disrupt the wedding. It didn't say that we had to steal the bride. Other than disrupting the wedding on the day itself, we can also cancel the wedding, Ajur said with a glint in his eyes. How can I cancel it? Are we going to assassinate one of them? Tingfeng began to come up with a bad idea. You're so stupid. Can't you just destroy their feelings for each other, and then cancel the wedding? Peiqing's intelligence was much more damaged than Tingfeng and Tingyu. Look at him, he hit the nail on the head. Are you talking about a honey trap? Tingfeng's eyes lit up. She then looked at the 2 girls. That's a good idea. Little you and Xiao Wu are both beauties. One of you is pure and cute, while the other is lively and pretty. I don't believe that the 2 of you can't attract that Sir John Germain. Tingfeng stared at the 2 girls with sparkling eyes. Tingyu leaned towards Fengwu in fear. Do you have any humanity left in you? We're just 2 weak girls. You actually want us to seduce German. What if he goes berserk and does something to us? Tingyu immediately refused. She didn't want to seduce a stinky man. She didn't even want to think about it. No, little you. Think about the 200,000 gold coins and the debt we owe Captain. You have to go. And Xiao Wu too. In short, all of our happiness depends on you. Peiqing looked at the 2 girls as if he was looking at his saviors. It was as if they were his light, his water, and his world. Shut up. Xiao Wu can't do it. Let Tingyu go. Ajur's face darkened. What he wanted to say was to find a beautiful woman to cause some trouble for the newlyweds. It would be best if she could catch them in bed. He didn't believe that Manali would still marry a man who fooled around before marriage. This noble lady was extremely prideful. Furthermore, Minali came from a good family and was a famous beauty. This kind of woman would definitely be even more prideful. There was no way she would accept a man who had embarrassed her before marriage. Who knew why these guys wanted their people to go and seduce them personally? If they couldn't go, then so be it. It would cost a lot of money to find a new beauty. Tingyu was also quite good-looking. Perhaps German would like her. I don't want to. I'm such a cute and beautiful girl. How can you bear to send me to the tiger's den? Tingyu looked at the group of men pitifully, hoping that these beasts would be merciful and let her go. Why must you seduce German? Why can't you seduce Minari? Feng Wu's suspicious voice suddenly sounded. Feng Wu was just curious. Why did they have to target a man? Wasn't there a bride? According to them, the bride was fine too. That's right. You're right, you're absolutely right. Xiao Wu, I love you to death. Why didn't I think about it? You have 3 men, and they're all handsome men. Any one of you can definitely beat that German in terms of looks. So this quest should have you guys try to seduce him. I believe it will be more successful than my seduction. Tingyu became happier as she spoke. In contrast to Tingyu's good mood, the 3 men felt terrible. They never thought that one day they would need to use their beauty to do a mission. The 3 of you are so good-looking. Minori will definitely like you. Feng Wu sat there expressionlessly. She looked at them from head to toe and finally came to this conclusion. There was no need. They didn't want to be liked by Minori at all. In the end, under the Feng Wu girl's pure and serious gaze, the 3 men were defeated. The most basic plan naturally changed from a beauty trap to a beauty trap. Have you decided who will go? Tingyu relaxed because she didn't have to do anything. She was in a good mood as she sat there and enjoyed the show. Why don't Captain go? I believe that with Captain's handsome face that can mesmerize all women, you will definitely succeed. Pei Qing looked at Ajur. His eyes revealed a few words. I believe in you, Captain. Who wants you to believe in me? Ajur felt his feet itch. He really wanted to beat someone up. I think Tingfeng is a good choice. I heard that Minori is already in her 20s. When she sees Tingfeng, she will immediately want to eat her up. Ajur set his sights on Tingfeng, who had a weak face. Chapter 101. I can't. How can I compare to the 2 of you? Besides, that Lady Minori is only 20 years old. She's not 20 years old. Isn't she the most suitable age for our Pei Qing Gij? The 3 of them each pushed a pretty boy. No one wanted to be the pretty boy in the pretty boy trap. They were all pure young men. They couldn't let a woman they didn't know taint their innocence. The 3 of them pushed each other. They discussed until the sky turned dark, but they still couldn't figure out which boy to send to be the pretty boy in the pretty boy trap. After another day, the 5 of them started to inquire about Minori's whereabouts. Fortunately, Minori was actually quite a low-profile person. They found out that other than going to the library from time to time to read books, she rarely appeared in other places. She even rarely attended banquets. The library was naturally not a place where ordinary people could go. Reading books in the library cost 2 gold coins an hour. Other than rich people, how could ordinary people afford it? 2 gold coins an hour? That's too expensive. With so many of us waiting there every day, how much money would it cost? Why don't we just wait at the entrance of the library? It'll save money that way. Tingfeng thought about the increasing debt, and really didn't want to let the debt pile up even higher. No, hanging around the entrance of the library every day would attract too much attention. Ajur directly shook his head and refused. I know a type of person who doesn't need to pay to enter the library. Pei Qing suddenly said. Who? Everyone asked. Disabled people. Pei Qing said seriously. Go away. You're the disabled one. Tingfeng said unhappily. Stupid. Pei Qing wants us to pretend to be disabled. Tingyu knocked on her useless brother's head. That's a good idea. Everyone unanimously agreed. Feng Wu. How do we pretend? She tilted her head in confusion. Xiao Wu, as long as you don't talk, it shouldn't be a problem to pretend to be mute. Ajur said. Feng Wu nodded, indicating that she understood. As for the others, it shouldn't be a problem for them to pretend to be crippled, deaf, or paralyzed. Ajur thought for a few seconds. In order to better deceive the librarian, the 5 of them specially got crutches, bandages, and wheelchairs. This was a complete set of equipment. After another day, a group of Heaven's Fault and Earth's Fault appeared at the entrance of the library. They were either deaf-mute or disabled, causing the librarian to take a few more glances at them. It had to be mentioned here that although the country had a rule that disabled people could come here to read books, it was still not enough. However, there was not a single person who actually came to read. Those who came here were all from rich families. Which disabled person would be so stupid as to come here and enjoy the supercilious looks of these rich people? The librarian was a middle-aged uncle. This uncle had been managing the books in the library for many years. This was the first time he had seen a disabled person visit this magnificent library. Although the uncle felt that the 5 disabled people did not know their place, the rules were there. He had no reason to ask them to leave. Therefore, this uncle librarian pretended not to see the 5 monsters. However, while the uncle librarian pretended not to see them, the others were obviously unhappy. They thought that the librarian would throw out these monsters that polluted the air, but they did not expect that he would just pretend not to see them. Some of the aristocratic youths did not even know that the librarian had such a rule to allow disabled people to read books. Because they did not know, the aristocratic youths were not satisfied. Why? Why did they let these monsters in? They were obviously commoners. Why should they sit in the same place as aristocrats and breathe the same air? They were not satisfied and went to the librarian to ask him to throw these guys out. In the end, they found out from the librarian that the librarian had such a rule. What if the librarian did not listen to them, and was not willing to chase them out? It did not matter. They could chase them out themselves. Therefore, some of the youths began to take action. Where did this stench come from? You damned beggars, it's really stinky. Why aren't you getting the hell out of here? Because you guys are here, the style of this place has become lower. A young man dressed in luxurious aristocratic clothing was the first to walk over and make things difficult for them. That's right, get out, get out. This young master still has to participate in the academy's examination tomorrow. If this young master's reading is affected because of you, can you 5 monsters bear the responsibility? Another young man wearing the academy's uniform also came over and retorted, "We won't go out. We are disabled people. If you dare to drive us out, believe it or not, we will immediately go to the entrance of the palace to report you. Disabled people can come to the library to read books. That is the order of the previous monarchs. Who do you think you are? You dare to question the monarch's order?" Pei Qing represented the 5 people and fiercely criticized the 2 teenagers who came to find Jia. When the 2 youths were reprimanded by Pei Qing, the nature of the matter immediately rose from chasing them out to being disrespectful to the king. Daring to question the orders of the previous kings was the rhythm of having a death wish. Seeing that they could not gain any advantage, the 2 youths who came to find trouble could only leave dejectedly. The others who were originally watching could only give up on the idea of finding trouble with them when they saw that the demiurge flawed and earth-lacking monsters were not easy to bully. Feng Wu, a juror and the rest casually found some books in the library and sat there to read. No one came close to them within a 2-meter radius of them. These aristocratic youths all treated them as if they were some kind of virus and avoided them. Most of them did not even read the books here, and directly borrowed them to slowly read at home. The 5 of them stayed in the library for a total of 10 days. During these 10 days, they basically stayed in the library except for sleeping. It was so boring and tedious that if it was not for the huge carrot of 200,000 gold coins dropping in front of them, they would have given up long ago. Feng Wu wasn't one of the people who couldn't take it anymore. Ever since Feng Wu came here, she had been quietly reading every day. She was so engrossed in her reading that she was completely unlike the others. She pretended to read, but in reality, she was just chatting. Every day, she would talk about why Mineli wasn't here yet, and the gossip she heard on the streets. After another 5 days, Tingfeng, Tingyu and the rest who were always active really could not take it anymore. If this went on, they would become bookworms sooner or later. "Xiao Wu, you're reading so seriously every day. Are you engrossed in reading?" Tingyu asked listlessly. "Yes, I'm engrossed in reading," Feng Wu answered. "I really admire you. You can even read such boring books," Tingfeng said. "They're not boring. The books are very interesting." Feng Wu really liked the library. This place reminded her of the old curator who treated her very well. Chapter 102. Very good. Tingfeng leaned closer to Feng Wu and glanced at the title of the book. The words Encyclopedia of Medicinal Herbs entered her eyes. How could this kind of book be good? Tingfeng's mouth twitched. She and Fengwu did not live in the same world. Tingyu and her brother were sprawled on the table. They felt like they were about to be buried alive by the books. It was the same for Ajur and Peiqing. It was good to read books occasionally, but they couldn't stand reading for 8 to 9 hours straight. They weren't bookworms. They couldn't stand such a life. The librarian was just as depressed as Ajur and the others. Ever since these 5 fellows took root here, the number of people coming to the library to read had decreased by half. Even the number of people who came to borrow books had decreased by half. The librarian couldn't help but want to use a broom to kick these 5 fellows out. They were too hateful. What was even more hateful was that if they were really physically disabled but mentally strong, it would be fine. But these guys, other than the very cute black-haired mute girl who sat there and read seriously every day, the rest of them were basically here to dawdle. Every day, if they weren't sleeping, they were chatting. Just looking at them made one's hands itch. Since we have nothing to do, why don't we discuss who should be the one to seduce Minori when she appears? Tingyu was bored to death. She did not mind watching the boys' expressions change. Tingyu, life is too boring. I need a little stimulation. Didn't we agree that Tingfeng will be the one to go? There's no need to discuss this anymore. Peiqing pretended to be reading a romance novel. What do you mean by I'll go? You're the one who's going. Tingfeng could not take it anymore. When did they discuss this? Why were they talking nonsense? I don't care who goes. I'm not going, Ajur said nonchalantly. Why should we? The two of them roared at Ajur, unconvinced. Because I'm the team leader. Very good, this reason was strong enough. They were speechless. At this moment, there was a commotion at the entrance of the library. Not long after, a woman in a gorgeous dress appeared at the entrance. Damn. Who is this? Did he reincarnate into the wrong body? Tingfeng cried out in alarm, pointing at the door with his bandaged hand. I think she might be a man dressed as a woman. Ajur looked carefully at the woman who had just walked in, and said seriously, No, maybe she's just a woman with a man's face. Peiqing covered half of his face with a book and said, while the 3 of them were pointing at the person who just came in, there were 2 girls sitting not far from them. These 2 girls also saw the person who came in, and were doing the same thing as Ajur and the others. It's Lady Minori. I heard that she's going to marry Sir John Germain. I thought she would be busy with the wedding and wouldn't come to read. Who is she? She's the Queen's cousin. She has such a high status. Why would she need to prepare for the wedding? She just needs to show up on the day of the wedding. Although the 2 girls spoke softly, Ajur and the others were all experts. The 5 of them could clearly hear the 2 girls talking. No way, that androgynous woman is the legendary beauty Minori. Tingyu was so shocked that she almost fell off her chair. A few men also almost peed in their pants. No way, I don't dare to seduce her. You can go ahead. Tingfeng was so scared that she opened her arms and hugged the table so tightly that she almost grew on it. Good, you little bastards. How dare you pretend to be disabled and come in here to read? Do you want to die? Someone catch them. It's all your fault, you big idiot. I told you to pretend to be disabled, but you still hugged the table with both hands. Do you think we're blind? Tingyu was so angry that she threw the book in her hand at Tingfeng. That thick book was as hard as a brick when it hit a person. Ajur and Peiqing were also angry. They had just seen the target, but their plan had failed because of an idiot. The 2 of them were so angry that they threw the book at Tingfeng and ran away immediately. Ajur grabbed Fengwu, Tingyu and Peiqing and chased after them. After Tingfeng dodged the book attack, she also stood up and ran away. The guards at the entrance of the library chased them around the library like dogs. Stop, you liars. Don't even think about running away. Stop, you bastards. Don't think that you can run away. Now, even the librarian had joined the group of people chasing after the 5 of them. With a librarian and 4 guards, the group of people chasing after them had become even more powerful. The 5 of them weren't idiots. After running around the library once, they all ran towards the direction of the main entrance. Who asked this library to only have one main entrance? There wasn't even a back door. The team led by the librarian was getting closer and closer. In order not to be caught, Ajur and the others could only desperately run forward. Not good. That Junali was actually blocking the entrance. Ajur had always been a person who did not have tender feelings for women. He pushed Minari to the side. Minari fell in the direction of Pei Qing's escape route. Pei Qing had no choice but to reach out and catch Minari. Be careful, Mississippi. After politely saying that, he immediately wanted to run. Unexpectedly, Minari, who originally did not have any attack power, grabbed Pei Qing's hand. Come, bring this man back for this miss. Minari's face, which was more handsome than a man's, had two suspicious traces of red. This was the rhythm of love at first sight. As the queen's cousin, Minari's bodyguards who could follow by her side were all ordinary experts. A few bodyguards acted together and caught the stunned Pei Qing. Pei Qing did not even have the chance to make a move before he was tied up like a dumpling. By the time Pei Qing was caught, Ajur and the others had already run out of the library. That's great. The honey trap worked. We don't even have to fight over the candidates anymore. Minali can choose her own. Ting Feng was hiding at the entrance of the library. He patted his little heart, which had almost fallen out of his chest from fright, and said in relief, as expected of Pei Qing, such a powerful woman like Minari is already infatuated with him. Ajur praised Pei Qing's efficiency. Don't we need to save him? Feng Wu heard Pei Qing's cry for help, and then looked at the indifferent faces of the others. She pondered the serious question of whether or not to save him. Chapter 103. There's no need to save him. It's necessary for the mission. I'm sure Pei Qing will understand. Let's go first and not disturb them. The only person who could save Pei Qing was decisively dragged away. 3 days later, a notice was posted in the city. Sir John Germain and Lady Minari's wedding was cancelled. This matter naturally attracted the attention of all the people in the city, as well as the adventurers who had accepted the mission to ruin the wedding. Which awesome person did this? I've already made preparations to snatch the bride on their wedding day. Isn't that right? I'm also prepared to cause chaos at their wedding. I brought so many brothers here, but the wedding was cancelled just like that. What's the meaning of this? This was the wailing of the adventurers who had accepted the mission and still had not completed it. Little Chung, look at this. I wonder who completed this mission that you didn't want to accept. They're really fast. Eve rushed into Zicheng's room with a notice in her hand. Someone completed it? Zicheng stopped combing his hair and looked back. Yeah, these people are really vicious. They broke up a pair of lovers just like that. What a sin. Eve was obviously very disdainful of the people who had completed this mission. Zicheng and Eve naturally also saw this mission with a generous reward. However, this mission required them to break up a pair of lovers who were about to get married. Zicheng was naturally unwilling to accept such a mission. Zicheng was unwilling to accept it, and Eve didn't persuade him either. Instead, she looked down on those scoundrels who ran over to break up lovers for money. I heard that Feng Wu seemed to have accepted this mission. Do you guys think that the person who completed this mission this time was her? Rika had unknowingly walked into Zicheng's room. Ever since Rika embarrassed herself in the female dormitory area that day, she thoroughly hated Feng Wu and Ajur. Probably because Ajur was too powerful, and after asking around, she found out that Ajur was a noble in Anato. After discovering that she couldn't afford to offend Ajur, most of Rika's hatred was transferred to Feng Wu. In Rika's heart, Tong Wu was the main culprit. It can't be. Does she have the ability? I heard that many people have accepted this mission. What kind of people are they? They even accepted such a wicked mission to break up an engaged couple. Eve probably because she had been with Zicheng for a long time, and the way she did things was a little Zicheng. Those who would accept the same mission as Feng Wu can't be good people. They're just scum. Rika sneered and casually sat down on the sofa. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go see Sir John Germain first. He must be very sad right now. After all, we've met him once. When Zicheng and the others came to the Soya Empire, they happened to meet a rich young master who wanted to hit on Zicheng. In the end, he was discovered by German and saved. Although the two hadn't met, They had reached the level of ordinary friends. Fengwu and the others didn't know that Rika had also come to this country. As soon as they received the news, they immediately went to the Adventurers Guild branch in the Soya Empire's capital. The Adventurers Guild had branches in every country in the world. Naturally, the Soya Empire had one as well. The missions they accepted in the central city could also be submitted here. Naturally, Ajur and the others ran to submit the mission as soon as possible. After checking the quest information, the 200,000 gold coins were in their hands. The four of them made a happy decision and divided the 200,000 gold coins. As for Pei Qing, they knew that Countess Minali was a good match. She would definitely love Pei Qing. Pei Qing, who was going to be the Countess's man in the future, could have as much money as he wanted. How could he be interested in such a small amount of money? Just as the four of them were about to take the teleportation portal back to the central city, an unexpected person suddenly appeared. Are you guys planning to leave your companions behind? Pei Qing's voice was so cold that it pierced their bones. No, we were planning to go back to the central city and wait for you. Don't worry, we didn't touch a single coin of your share. We kept it all for you. Ting Feng was crying in her heart. Why did they come back at this time? Lady Minori was too useless. She couldn't even keep an eye on one person. Yes, we kept it all for you. It's good that you're back. The two shameless fellows Tingyu and Ajur didn't fall behind either. One couldn't see the disappointment of losing 10,000 gold coins on their faces. If Pei Qing didn't know them very well, he would have been fooled by them. Pei Qing, you're back. Fengwu saw Pei Qing, who she hadn't seen for a few days, and the corners of her mouth slightly curled up. She seemed to be in a good mood. Among all the people in this room, Xiaowu is probably the only one who sincerely welcomes me back. Pei Qing's eyes clearly expressed this. You guys keep acting. I won't be fooled. Sit down, big brother Qing. Do you want to eat something? It must have been very tiring to escape all the way back. How about I go to the kitchen and order 2 dishes for you? Tingyu secretly had a wicked idea. As soon as she went out, she would go look for Minori and ask her to quickly capture Pei Qing. This way, the 10,000 gold would definitely be back in her pocket. I advise you to sit down. If you dare to report this, I'll break your dog legs, Pei Qing said ruthlessly with a cold gaze. F***ck, you can even discover this, brother, you're awesome. Let's leave here immediately. Minori is definitely looking for me right now. We must leave the Soya Empire as soon as possible. Pei Qing's fingers tapped on the table rhythmically. Okay, pack up and set off immediately. Ajur also didn't talk nonsense, although it was a pity to lose 10,000 gold. The few of them packed up their things and left the room. Pei Qing also made some disguises. The group of people walked towards the teleportation circle. However, when they arrived at the teleportation circle, they saw that it was heavily guarded. Everyone who entered the teleportation circle had to be strictly checked. This big brother, do you know what's going on? Why is there such a strict check when using the teleportation circle? Ting Feng randomly asked a passerby. Isn't it because of Lady Minori's pretty boy? I really don't know what that pretty boy is thinking. Lady Minori, such a beauty, likes him, and even gave up such a good marriage for him. Why doesn't he properly stay by Lady Minori's side, and insists on running away from home? You say, is he still a man? Running away from home is a trick that only ignorant women use. My wife runs away from home once every year. That pretty boy has really gained face for us men. As a dignified man, of all the tricks he could use, he just had to run away from home like a woman. You see, he made the Countess so angry. Chapter 104. Translator. Ryuxinji Editor. H2DH2 Mr. These soldiers are here to capture that pretty boy. The lady even said that as long as that pretty boy is willing to return, she will not pursue the matter of him running away from home. What a good woman. That damned pretty boy doesn't know how to cherish her. The man whom Ting Feng had casually pulled aside was obviously a married man. He looked down on that legendary pretty boy. Oh right, the lady even put up a mission in the Adventurers Guild for this matter. The mission reward is as high as 300,000 gold coins, all for the sake of capturing that pretty boy. The mission description also clearly states that we are not allowed to harm that pretty boy in the slightest, and that we have to bring him back unharmed. If I meet that pretty boy, that 300,000 gold coins will be mine. I really hope that pretty boy appears soon so that I can earn a lot of money. He's already appeared, right in front of you. Everyone was silent. Do you know what that guy looks like? And you want to capture him? Asked Tingyu curiously. The big man rolled his eyes at Tingyu. Who doesn't know? Portraits of that pretty boy are plastered all over the city. After saying this, the man continued to stroll around the streets. It looked like he was bent on capturing that legendary pretty boy to make some money. Pei Qing rejoiced in his heart. Luckily, he had changed his disguise when he went out. For safety reasons, he had even temporarily dyed his hair black like Fengwu's. Anyway, his eyes were also black so he could pretend to be someone from the ancient Eastern countries. The current Pei Qing had a head of long black hair, a pair of black eyes, and a long robe with the characteristics of the ancient Eastern countries. He was a living example of a handsome man from the ancient Eastern countries. Thinking about it, unless that Lady Minori personally came to the scene to identify him, it would be impossible to catch him based on the portraits. The five of them went to a restaurant and asked for a private room. After the waiter left with the menu, Ajur, Tingfeng, and Tingyu joined forces to attack. The scene of the three experts attacking together was simply too beautiful. Fengwu had never cared about their business, so she just watched from the side. You want to capture me for a reward? Pei Qing was unexpectedly calm. He just sat there without moving his butt at all. It's good that you know. For the sake of the happiness of our entire team, you'll have to bear with it, okay? This okay was a meaningful sound. But I don't want to be wronged. You want to catch me to get the reward. Aren't you afraid that I'll give you up? Minori likes me so much. If I say anything to her, you might become someone else's prey. Pei Qing wasn't someone who was easy to deal with. He had already thought of how to deal with his money grubber companions. You're ruthless. Ajur and the other two decisively let go. Just as he said, if Pei Qing said anything, with that person's financial resources, it was very likely that their entire team would die here. In the unfriendly atmosphere, everyone ate their fill. Because Minori's guards were guarding the teleportation formation, it was basically impossible to leave by teleportation formation. The five of them discussed for a while, and decided to go to a dangerous place to gain experience first. They would make plans after everything calmed down. The battlefield of gods and demons, as the name implied, referred to the place where the gods and demons fought in ancient times. According to legend, in ancient times, the human race was weak. The gods and demons often fought, and the battlefield was the human world. Every time the two worlds fought, the human world would suffer a catastrophe. The places where the two worlds fought were all in the human world, but it wasn't fixed at any place in the human world. There were several other battlefields of gods and demons like this. There were corpses of ancient gods and demons, as well as god tools and demon tools that they had used. It was even said that divine beast eggs could be found there. There were so many benefits in the two-realm battlefield, but the danger was naturally also extraordinarily high. There were many gods and demons formed by resentment there. Although those resentment spirits weren't as strong as they were when they were alive, they were definitely not weak. Every year, who knew how many experts died in the hands of those resentment spirits? Such a dangerous place where danger and opportunity coexisted was actually a very good place to gain experience. Of course, with Fengwu and the others' current strength, they could only walk around the periphery of the two-realm battlefield. Heavens! How much longer until we reach the two-realm battlefield? We've already walked for so many days. When will we get there? Tingyu couldn't stand it anymore and sat down on a large rock, complaining nonstop. Ever since they left the restaurant that day, they had been walking in the direction of the two-realm battlefield. They had walked for a whole 7 days. The two-realm battlefield wasn't very far from the capital of the Soya Empire. Although that place was very dangerous, there were even more opportunities. Many members of the royal family liked to go there to gain experience. Soon, right? Didn't you say it wasn't far? Tingfeng was so tired that she leaned against a tree. Let me take a look at the map first. Pei Qing took out a map. After flipping through it, he finally determined where they were. We're still 2 days away from the two-realm battlefield. However, there should be a town up ahead. We can go there and rest for a while. All right, then let's hold on for a while longer. When we reach the town up ahead, we'll have a good meal. After saying that, Ajur pulled Fengwu's small hand, then signaled for everyone to follow with his eyes. Tingfeng and the other two could only follow. After walking for 3 hours, although they still hadn't seen the shadow of the town, they saw an inn that was open by the roadside. That's great. We have a place to stay. Leader, let's go in quickly. They were extremely excited. Seeing this small inn was like seeing their savior. The 5 of them walked into the inn, and a waiter immediately greeted them. Would you like to eat or stay? The waiter was all smiles. Those who would stay in there and were all going to the two-realm battlefield or returning from the battlefield. Those who could go there weren't people to be trifled with. The waiter naturally had to be careful. We'll eat and stay together. Get 2 double rooms and 1 single room. Prepare some of your inn's specialties and bring them up. Be quick. We're starving. Tingfeng rubbed her stomach. After eating buns all the way, she felt that she was about to turn into a bun. She really didn't understand how Xiao Wu could still eat so happily. All right, I'll prepare it for you right away. The waiter brought them to their seats and went to prepare the food. He also went to book a room while he was at it. I can finally eat a decent meal, Tingyu said dispiritedly as she sprawled out on the table. Isn't this little junior sister and little junior brother? I really didn't expect to see you guys here. Fengwu and the others turned around when they heard this, and only then did they realize that they had met some familiar faces again. Weren't these people the members of the Mingxi team? Yo. There were even a few new people. Fengwu and Ajur naturally knew these people. It was Zicheng and the other two. Chapter 105. Speaking of which, there was a reason why these two teams would meet. Zicheng was worried that German would take things too hard, so he went to comfort him. He didn't expect to bump into German's friends, the members of Mingxi team. Both sides were from the same school, and Zicheng always gave people a good first impression. He was very likable. After knowing that Mingxi and the others were going to the two-realm battlefield to train, Zicheng and the other two also expressed that they wanted to go as well. Thus, the original team of 5 became 8 people. However, they didn't expect that they would actually meet Fengwu's team members on the way. Mingxi and the others were really surprised. Ajur and the others were also surprised. Who would have thought that the Soya Empire was so big? How could they keep bumping into each other? Fengwu looked at Mingxi with bright eyes. Clearly, she was very happy to meet Mingxi here. Mingxi coughed a little uncomfortably and turned his face away slightly. Although it wasn't the first time he was stared at by a girl, the way she looked at Fengwu was very different. Her bright eyes really made people feel pressured. Oh, it's actually Captain and Xiao Wu's seniors. Seniors, are you also going to the two-realm battlefield to train? What a coincidence. Pei Qing greeted them as if they were familiar with each other. Yeah, we're planning to go to the two-realm battlefield to train. You guys too, right? What a coincidence. Arguro said with a smile. Come and sit with us. If we put 2 tables together, we should be able to sit all of us. Elena walked in front of Fengwu enthusiastically and pulled Fengwu towards their table. Tingfeng and the others were instructed by Elena to move tables. Tingfeng and Pei Qing resigned themselves to their fate and moved a table to Mingxi's table. The few of them sat down one by one. Elena occupied a seat beside Fengwu and started to grope Fengwu. Sometimes she touched her head, sometimes she pinched her face. She was just like a female hooligan. I said, Senior Elena, don't bully Xiao Wu anymore. It's embarrassing. Ajur wondered if this guy really liked women. He remembered that when they first met, he even confessed his love to Fengwu. Come again. Thinking about it, that woman was known as a tigress in the academy. He had never heard of her accepting any men. Could it be that she didn't accept those men because Elena actually liked women? The more he thought about it, the more it seemed to be the case. The more he thought about it, the darker his face became. I say, you little fellows. You're only in your first year, yet you want to go to the two-realm battlefield to train. Aren't you a little too daring? Ruglas downed a large mouthful of wine, and looked at the youths with disapproval in his eyes. Seniors, don't worry. We only plan to take advantage of the outermost perimeter of the two-realm battlefield. We won't go too deep. Tingyu said with an extremely cute smile. As expected of the upperclassmen of the Notre Dame du Starlight. All of them looked like experts. Tingyu held her small face and her eyes sparkled. That won't do. Do you know how dangerous it is? Even in the outermost perimeter, it's still very dangerous. If you're not careful, you can lose your life there. Rugla still didn't quite agree. The new students this year seemed to be especially unreliable. They were only in their first year. Yet all of them wanted to explore the two-realm battlefield. That Zicheng was the same. He was clearly only a first year. Yet he wanted to go to the two-realm battlefield to train with them. If it weren't for the fact that they were afraid that these three girls would secretly chase after them after they left, they wouldn't have brought these three burdens along. Even if Ruglas was very dissatisfied with these little fellows who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, he couldn't just leave them behind. After all, they were his junior brothers and sisters. Forget it. You'll be like Zicheng and the others and come with us to train. However, you have to listen to our commands, understand? Elena pinched Fengwu's little cheeks and said very domineeringly. Because of the swaying of her body, her large breasts also dazzled everyone's eyes. It was a pity that there were so many people present, yet no one knew how to appreciate this domineering sister's devilish figure. Is it really possible? Tingyu was excited. Xiaowu, that's great. This way, you can train with your senior Mingxi. Tingyu turned her head and said excitedly to Fengwu across Elena. And Fengwu nodded happily. A trace of happiness could actually be seen on her originally expressionless face. Wait a minute, Senior Elena. Are we really going to bring them along? We don't know how strong these people are. What if they hold us back? Eve had always disliked Fengwu. She thought that she pretended to be innocent and pure. In addition, the conflict between the two during the freshman entrance exam made Eve view Fengwu as her mortal enemy. In short, Fengwu was now at the top of Eve's list of girls that she disliked the most. Moreover, it was the kind that would not change for 10,000 years. Do you think you have the right to say that? Skycliff, who was originally silent, suddenly opened his mouth and almost choked Eve to death. Ruglas and Arguros tried their best to hold back their laughter. Indeed, that junior Zicheng was gentle and beautiful. Moreover, she would occasionally help those pitiful people along the way. However, as Zicheng's friend, Eve was definitely an unlikable girl. She clearly didn't have any abilities, but she liked to criticize others. On the other hand, Rika always pretended to be aloof. Even when she helped people with Zicheng, she still acted high and mighty. It was really hard to understand how these three people met and became friends. Zicheng really admired her mental fortitude to be friends with these two people. I'm sorry, Senior Skycliff. Eve doesn't have any ill intentions. Please don't take it to heart. Zicheng pulled Eve, who still wanted to say something. After all, Zicheng was someone who had lived an extra life. She wasn't like Eve, who didn't know how to read people's faces. Here, the three of them were brought along by their seniors out of kindness. Before they came, she had told her seniors that she would separate from them when they reached the two-realm battlefield, and that they would move on their own. She also knew that the seniors wouldn't let the three of them move on their own. When the time came, the seniors would definitely bring them along. In fact, Zicheng's purpose in coming to the two-realm battlefield this time was to find something. A month ago, she found a strange metal piece on the street. When her blood dripped onto the metal piece, a map actually appeared. That map just so happened to be the map of the two-realm battlefield. On that map, the location of the tomb of a god who had fallen in ancient times was marked. Originally, Zicheng didn't plan to go there now. However, she happened to meet some seniors in the upper grades. She thought that perhaps she could try to retrieve the treasures in the tomb with the accompaniment of these seniors. Of course, Zicheng didn't tell anyone else about the secret of the tomb. Even Eve and Rika didn't know about the secret of the tomb. Chapter 106. I don't care if she's malicious or not. I just hope that she knows her place in the future. Skycliff was not Mingxi, who was gentle and polite to everyone. He was also not Ruglas or Arguros. Although the two of them were not as gentle as Mingxi, they were always more patient and gentlemanly towards girls. Skycliff was not like that. No matter who he was to, he was always ruthless and cold. He often said something that could anger people half to death. Okay, the dishes are on the table. Let's eat. Just then, the waiter began to serve the dishes. Arguros hurriedly urged everyone to eat. Although he did not like the girl named Eve, she was still a girl. He still had to give her some face. Everyone silently picked up their utensils and began to eat, but the atmosphere suddenly became a little stiff. It was not as lively as it was at the beginning. Arguros could not stand the silent atmosphere. He wanted to say a few words to liven up the mood. Suddenly, a sudden clap of thunder sounded in the sky. A second after the clap of thunder, the rain poured down from the sky. The originally bright sky became pitch black. It was now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was still sunny, but it suddenly became as dark as the evening. Why is it raining so suddenly? It looked fine just now. Elena suddenly felt a little annoyed. This feeling appeared out of nowhere. Normally, experts like Elena and the others would not have any inexplicable mood changes. If they really encountered such a change, it meant that something was about to happen. Moreover, it was something related to them. Mingxi's brows furrowed without leaving a trace. A dull feeling suddenly appeared in his heart. This was not a good omen. The other members of Mingxi team also felt something was wrong. They had studied at Notre Dame du Starlight for several years. Naturally, their strength was not something that Fengwu and the other freshmen could handle. Boss, do you have a room? Help me get a room. A young girl in blue holding a large umbrella suddenly rushed in from outside the door of the small hotel. Her clothes were not stained with water, but she looked a little embarrassed. Irene knew that Zicheng would encounter her first fated opportunity here, so she naturally made up her mind to come and snatch the female lead's fated opportunity. Thus, she purposely timed her arrival at the two-realm battlefield to look for the female lead. Her plan was to sneak into the female lead's team and search for treasures together with her. However, she did not expect to encounter such a heavy downpour when she was only a dozen steps away from the inn. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and took out a special large umbrella from her spatial ring to cover her head. Otherwise, she would definitely have become a drowned rat by now. All right. I'll get you a room right away. The owner behind the counter was more than happy to oblige. He immediately got Aaron a room. Ah, Zicheng, Fengwu, why are you guys here? Irene seemed to be very surprised to see them here, and naturally walked over. No one would suspect that this girl had already known the plot, and ran here to wait for someone. Actually, although Irene had read the original novel, she did not have a clear explanation of when Zicheng would appear in the two-realm battlefield. Thus, Irene had no choice but to come over a period of time in advance to wait for someone. What on earth was the situation now? She remembered that Zicheng should still be waiting to attend German's wedding at this time. Why did he appear a few days in advance? What on earth had gone wrong? Moreover, in the novel, although the wedding could not proceed with German's wedding, the reason was definitely not that the bride had fallen in love with some pretty boy. Instead, it was because German had been captured by someone, causing the wedding to fail. The bride felt that German was not manly and had been captured so easily, thus causing the wedding to be cancelled. No one would have thought that all of this was just a way for the groom, German, to avoid getting married. However, the strange thing was that German had indeed issued a mission at the Adventurers Guild just like what was written in the novel. What was different from the novel was that the one who was in trouble was not German. Instead, it was the bride who was seduced by a pretty boy. Could it be that her butterfly fan was too strong, causing this wedding farce to change beyond recognition? Originally, German had been kidnapped these 2 days, and the ones who had kidnapped German were Senior Mingxi and the others. In order to help their friend, Senior Mingxi and the others had helped German fake it. Of course, Zicheng had also helped in this matter. After the wedding was cancelled, Zicheng would naturally follow Senior Mingxi's team to the two-realm battlefield. The development of the story should have been like this. Why did the script suddenly change? Not only did the details of the cancelled wedding change, But even the people who appeared here changed. What was going on with Fengwu and the others? These people were clearly not mentioned in the novel. No matter how turbulent Irene's heart was, she still maintained a pleasantly surprised smile on her face. Irene? I really didn't expect to meet you here. Oh right, why are you here? Zicheng was also a little surprised to see Irene. I'm here for a mission, the mission to ruin the wedding. Who knows which great god is so powerful? Our team didn't even make a move, and it was already completed by someone else. Originally, I wanted to go back directly, but then I thought that since I've come to the Soya Empire, I should at least take a look at the magic crystal mine. That's why I appeared here. What about you guys? Don't tell me you're also thinking of going to the magic crystal mine like me? Of course, Irene couldn't say that she also wanted to go to the two-realm battlefield. She was a new student, and it was very strange for her to go to the two-realm battlefield alone. Fortunately, she had already thought of a reason. On the same path as the two-realm battlefield, there just happened to be a large-scale magic crystal mine. That mine had always been in the hands of the Soya Empire's royal family. The more precious magic crystals in the mine had naturally been mined out, and the remaining ones were taken out to attract travelers and adventurers from various countries. Each person only needed to pay 10 gold coins to mine as much as they wanted in the magic crystal mine. Whatever they dug out would be theirs. That mine was very famous. Some people were extremely lucky and had indeed dug out rare magic crystals. However, there were even more people who didn't dig out anything, or only dug out some magic crystals that weren't too precious. So you want to go to the magic crystal mine. But what about your teammates? Are they behind you? Zicheng smiled in a friendly manner, but there was a bit of estrangement in his smile. This Irene was a very strange person. Zicheng had also tried hard to increase her friendliness, but found that no matter what she did, Irene's friendliness towards her never passed. Zicheng had never encountered such a situation before. Her intuition told her that there was something wrong with Irene. Chapter 107. Those who were not affected by her favorability system must have secrets that she did not know. Although Zicheng did not want to interact with such people, he did not want to offend them either. As long as she did not take the initiative to provoke him, Zicheng did not mind maintaining a friendly relationship with her on the surface. They have already left. Those guys couldn't wait to return to the central city as soon as they heard that the mission was completed. It was originally a temporary team for the mission. I can't force them to mine with me. After saying that, she winked playfully. Speaking of the mission, Ajur and the others couldn't help but feel guilty. Let alone the mission. If these guys knew that their team was the one that completed the mission, and that there was someone in their team with a high bounty on their head, who knows what would happen? It was unknown if Ajur and the others' prayers were effective, but Irene finally changed the topic. Are these the seniors in the school? Although she already knew their identities, Irene still had to pretend that it was the first time she had met them. Little Junior, you know us? Arguros touched his chin and asked with interest. Interesting. What day was it today? I just met Fengwu and Ajur, these two juniors, and now there was another junior. These seniors are very famous in the school. Among us freshmen, there are many who have a crush on the seniors. Irene said playfully. Are we that popular? Arguros was excited. He even wiped his hair to make himself look more handsome. That's impossible. I believe that those girls have a crush on Mingxi. Elena said bluntly. Hey, besides Mingxi, we are also handsome guys that everyone loves. How can there not be girls who are interested in us? Arguros said unhappily. Irene had a cheerful personality. When she wanted to please someone, it was not difficult for her to become familiar with the Mingxi team. While Aaron was chatting with Mingxi and the others, Ting Wind, Ting Rain, and Pei Che weren't idling around either. As they ate, they didn't forget to exchange a few words. Only Fengwu was acting a little strange. She was usually more enthusiastic than anyone when it came to food, but now she was looking at the door or the window from time to time. Ajur noticed her abnormal behavior. Even Mingxi, who occasionally glanced at the Fengwu girl, noticed her abnormality. Xiaowu, what are you looking at? Is there something at the door? Elena was sitting beside Fengwu. Fengwu's reaction was so obvious that it was difficult for Elena to pretend that she did not see it. It's so red outside. Fengwu bit her lips and said with a frown. So red. Pei Qing repeated in a strange manner. Xiao Wu, did you say it wrong? It's so black. Tingyu helped Fengwu correct her mistake in a small voice. It's not so black, it's so red. Fengwu said with certainty. No one knew that the world in Fengwu's eyes had completely changed. The heavy rain outside had turned into a bloody rain. Even the sky was blood red. Red. Everyone felt a burst of strange feeling. Everyone looked at the door. No, it was as black as night. How could it be red? What kind of eyes were they looking at? Was Fengwu colorblind? At this moment, a group of guards led a young girl wearing a veil hat to run over in a somewhat sorry state. The young girl's dress was already wet from the rain, and the back of her dress was gradually covered with mud. Fortunately, there was a maid at the side who had been holding an umbrella for her, so her dress wasn't completely wet. However, the maids beside the young girl were all drenched. In an instant, with the arrival of the girl, the entire inn was filled with hundreds of guards. Princess Nana is here. Why aren't you all moving out of the way? A maid in red, who was drenched by the rain, still looked at the only table of customers in the inn, which was Fengwu and the others, and said loudly, "Move out of the way. Where are you going? It's raining so heavily outside. You're really imaginative." Arguros looked disdainfully at the maid who was pretending to be powerful. "How dare you? The princess wants to temporarily take shelter from the rain here. If you all know what's good for you, why aren't you leaving?" The maid in red shouted sternly. "In terms of first come first serve, we came first. Why should we leave?" "What bullshit, princess." Ruglas didn't put her in his eyes at all. "You all." The maid wanted to say something, but was stopped by a man in armor who was dressed as a commander. "That's enough. It's raining so heavily outside. You, a little maid, actually want to chase the commoners out? Even if the king was here, he would not bully the commoners like this." The commander shouted at the red-clothed maid. "All right, stop talking. Quickly prepare a room for this princess. This princess is about to die from exhaustion." The Princess Nana wearing the veil hat said impatiently. "Boss, immediately prepare a good room for the princess." The commander said to the boss. Yes. This humble one will do it right away." The boss with 2 tufts of beard didn't dare delay the princess. He immediately personally led the princess and her maid to the best room in the inn to rest. "That commander isn't bad," Tingyu said. "He isn't bad. Unfortunately, that princess doesn't look like a good person." Rika, who hadn't said anything until now, opened her mouth. For a proud girl like Rika, she never liked girls who had a higher or lower status than her. That Princess Nana was one of the 2 types of girls that Rika hated the most. Mingxi's table was quietly talking. The soldiers who came in to take shelter from the rain asked the waiter to prepare some food and drinks. They then casually wiped their clothes with a towel and tidied themselves up. The commander nodded at Mingxi and then didn't look at them. He minded his own business and sat at a table some distance away from them to eat. As for the princess food, it was naturally brought upstairs to eat. How could a princess come downstairs to eat with so many men? There's something wrong with that princess." Fengwu suddenly said. "There's something wrong with the princess? She's a fake princess?" Elena asked curiously. "Her entire body is filled with blood. She's surrounded by vengeful spirits. More than 100 vengeful spirits, all of them female vengeful spirits. Many people will die. Someone will definitely die." Fengwu muttered to herself. Fengwu's eyes could see things that others couldn't. Ever since Princess Nana came in, she had noticed something strange about Princess Nana. She was surrounded by countless vengeful spirits. All of them wanted to kill the princess. They were howling in pain and attacking Princess Nai crazily. However, it was a pity that Princess Nai seemed to have something protecting her body. They couldn't hurt her at all. On the other hand, the vengeful spirits that were attacking Princess Nai were severely injured by the protective item on her body. A few vengeful spirits had their souls dissipated just like that. Chapter 108. Fengwu could clearly see these things, but the others couldn't see them. After all, none of them were necromancers. Blood aura? Why can't we see it? Is there something wrong with your eyes? Rika said disdainfully. That's right. You can see things that none of us can see. And you call yourself a wraith? Do you think you're a necromancer? Eve laughed mockingly. Mingxi and the others didn't think that these things didn't exist just because they couldn't see them. Mingxi's team was no ordinary person, and they wouldn't deny others because of something they didn't know. It was just that Fengwu's words were too hard to believe. Just as Eve had said, Fengwu wasn't a necromancer. In fact, not only was Fengwu not a necromancer, she wasn't even a mage of any other major. She didn't have any talent for magic. If she did, she wouldn't have gone to the psychic department. Someone with no talent for magic was telling them that she could see the undead. Even if Mingxi and the others didn't think that Fengwu would lie, they still held a skeptical attitude in their hearts. After all, this was too hard to believe, wasn't it? You guys better listen to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu's eyes are different from yours. She can see things that ordinary people can't. If you don't believe me, I have something here that you might be able to use. Ajur took out a small bottle of transparent white potion from his space ring as he spoke. This was the potion that the old mage had given them last time. This kind of potion that could see the undead was something that only beginner necromancer apprentices would use. Necromancers had their own system, and they wouldn't sell this kind of potion outside. Only a few people who had a good relationship with necromancers might be gifted a bit. Isn't this the occult potion? I didn't expect you to carry such a thing with you. Elena exclaimed in a low voice. This occult potion was named after it was sprayed on a person's eyes. It was said that the person who created this occult potion was a god-ranked necromancer, the world's first necromancer. When that mage became a god, he created this potion in order to ensure that the necromancer's legacy would not be cut off. The purpose of this potion was to help necromancer apprentices who had yet to open their eyes to see the existence of the undead, and to help those apprentices get used to interacting with spirits faster. Only necromancers knew the formula of this potion. Although these necromancers weren't very harmonious, they still had a common sense of protecting the formula. It didn't matter if the person was a white magician or a dark necromancer. At the very least, they wouldn't divulge the secret of the occult potion to outsiders. Although the potion was small, those who had the means could still get some and sell it in the shop or auction house. However, the price would be very high, and not many people would buy it. After all, who would want to see what the undead looked like? Wouldn't that be looking for trouble? Because there weren't many people who needed the occult potion. Even if it rarely appeared on the market, it wasn't that hard to buy. Now that they saw Ajur actually had the occult potion in his hands, although this made Elena and the others surprised, it didn't shock them. How about it? Do you dare to use it? Ajur arrogantly shook the potion bottle in his hand with a face full of arrogance. Let's use it, who's afraid of you? Arguros stretched out his hand and snatched the occult potion, then sprayed it into his eyes twice. Because of the foreign object entering his eyes, Arguros blinked uncomfortably. At this moment, almost everyone's attention was focused on him. How is it, Senior? Did you see anything? Irene was the first to ask. Eve and Rika had expressions of disbelief. Magicians were the noblest profession in the entire continent. If Fengwu could see the undead, wouldn't it prove that she had the talent to become a necromancer? Necromancers were very strong in battle, and they also had long lifespans. Legend had it that they had their own ways to extend their lifespans. It was really difficult to convince them that Fengwu, who had a little bit of magic talent, had the potential to become a necromancer. Anyway, they wouldn't believe it even if you beat them to death. How is it? Elena and Ruglas were also very curious. Arguros blinked. When he opened his eyes again, he found that the world had changed. The world that was originally as dark as night had turned into a blood-red color. The blood-red color surrounded the entire small inn. The inn was filled with red blood mist, and the screams of the undead could be heard coming from the second floor. The strange thing was that there were so many people in the hall eating and drinking in this large blood mist, and they weren't affected at all. This scene was strange no matter how one looked at it, and it sent chills down one's spine. The most unacceptable thing was that outside the inn, there was a basin of rain pouring down. The rain that was originally transparent in his eyes had turned into a blood-red color. The pungent smell of blood outside the door made him want to vomit. After only a few seconds, even Arkros, who thought he had seen a lot, turned pale. Everyone knew what was going on when they saw his expression. Ruglas called out a few times, but didn't see any response. He had no choice but to grab the bottle from Arguros and sprayed it into his own eyes. The second guy with a pale face appeared. Mingxi and Skycliff looked at each other. Even an idiot could see that something was wrong. The two sprayed the occult potion into their own eyes one after the other. After realizing their situation, even the calm Skycliff's face stiffened a little. Mingxi's face didn't change, but the seriousness in his eyes was obvious. No way, is there really something? I don't believe it, I want to spray it too. Eve was waiting for Fengwu to make a fool of herself, but she didn't expect reality to give her a slap in the face. She was a girl who wouldn't give up until all hope was gone. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe that Fengwu could really see the undead, even if she was beaten to death. As she spoke, she pulled out a chair and walked to Skycliff's side. She wanted to take the occult potion and spray it, but Skycliff flipped his hand, and the potion didn't fall into Eve's hands. Senior Skycliff. Eve was unconvinced. She even began to suspect that these seniors didn't want Fengwu to make a fool of herself, so they pretended to be frightened to get away with it. Thinking of this, Eve was even more dissatisfied. Why? Why did everyone have to stand on Fengwu's side? This reminded Eve of the last stage of the entrance exam, when she was ostracized because of Fengwu. Girls, don't look. I don't want to hear your screams. Skycliff glanced coldly at Eve. The reason he didn't give Eve the occult potion wasn't because he was protective of the fairer sex, but because he didn't want to hear their high-pitched screams. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.